So over the last couple of weeks, it has been brought to my attention that there is even more optimized combo lines that the Ritual Beast deck can produce. So let's take a look at those combo lines and add some tips that can help us learn them. So before we cover the combo lines, I thought we could cover how this video is different from my previous video. And the first thing that makes this video different is that I'm gonna be showcasing today some updated, optimized combo lines that I became aware of or that they were discovered between the release of my previous video and the making of this video. Now, if you already learned the deck, most of these combo lines, the improvement is very minor in the steps of the combo lines, and I'm gonna showcase why it is for most of them in a little bit. And by the way, these combo lines were discovered by a different combo content creator called Swisky, which I definitely would suggest you go and subscribe to his channel. I'm gonna put the link, if I can figure out how to put it in the screen, I'm gonna put it in the screen right here. If not, a link to his channel is gonna be in the description below. He's making a lot of really good contributions to developing forward the Ritual Beast deck. I would really suggest, if you enjoy my content, you will definitely love his channel. So most of the contribution that he has been making has been in the way that we use ulti-Rautare in the combos, and I will showcase that in just a minute. The second way in which this video differs from my previous one is I'm gonna try to focus more in giving you tips on how to learn these combo lines. Because after looking at these combos for so long, after looking at so many combos, I start to notice some patterns between the combos and some important things to keep in mind, just things to remember that can help you learn the combos easier. So I'm going to focus on that through the videos. You will notice I'm going to mention some tips here and there that can help you learn the combos. The third way in which this video differs from the previous one is that I really wanted there to be a video that compile all the knowledge that we have for the deck, all the 1 and 2 card starters, and in total I believe we have 15 different combo lines that are gonna be covered in this video, and I really wanted there to be a video that have all of the combo lines on it, so it could be the resource that you go to when you try to find a combo, and you don't have to be searching online for videos here and there and try to find a one-off video that might cover a combo line you're looking for. The last thing is that, similar to my previous video, you will notice that this one has updated combo lines, and so this deck continues to evolve, and we're gonna continue to research. Switchkits are still looking for new combo lines, and still looking for new combo lines. I will gonna try to keep improving the deck and push it to the maximum potential that I have before the cards are released. So the spreadsheet below in the description is gonna contain the most up-to-date combo lines, updated combo lines, I guess I should say, for each one of these 1 and 2 card starting hands. So I'm gonna try my best to keep the video up to date, and apart from that, keep an eye on my channel and keep an eye on Swisky's channel, as we are both releasing new content all the time about the deck, and new combo lines can be found, and we're both trying to optimize the deck as much as we can together now. Apart from that, I just wanted to thank you for watching, and I really appreciate all the support, by the way, you guys have been giving me lately. It's crazy how far this channel has come and how fast it's growing. So with all this in mind, let's cover the differences between the combo lines that I showcased in my last video and this new combo line. The main difference we're doing between my combos, the combos I presented before, and the combos that he's showcasing in his channel, and the combos I will showcase today, the improvement is the way that ulti-Rautare is summoned and how we utilize it. So what I normally did in my previous videos is that I use bonds to summon ulti-Rautare. Now these do two things. One, you need to search bonds, so you're not searching for other cards, and also the ulti-Rautare you summon is not properly summoned, so you cannot summon it back with the effects of Lara and Wen or Zefra if the ulti-Rautare is banished or in the graveyard. So something important to keep in mind. So most of the lands are going to improve on that. And the way they're going to do so is that instead of using bonds to go into ulti-Rautare, when we have a banished Cannahawk, we're gonna search for Eeelder instead. So instead of searching for Bone, we're gonna be searching for Eeelder. And we're gonna make ulti-rotary with the monster we have in the field. Add Cannahawk to the hand and go Eeelder Cannahawk. And I'm gonna showcase each combo individually so you see the changes to the combos. But that's the main idea, the main concept behind this, and the main idea behind the improvements that Siuski was able to figure out. So again, please go and subscribe to his channel. He has a lot of really good videos about the deck. And apart from that, let's go and jump into the first combo. Alright, so the first line we have here is the 1-card Cannahawk starter. This is one of the lines that Swiss can improve on. So let's go ahead and get started. And this line is slightly different. You will notice the difference at the end. Yeah, let's get started. We're gonna normal summon Cannahawk. We're gonna use Cannahawk effect to banish a copy of Spiritual Beast E-Lara. Using Spiritual Beast E-Lara, we're gonna special summon to our field a copy of Lara. And something interesting here I want to mention before we move forward is that the 1-card starters with Cannahawk and the 1-card starters with Rampengu, they both search as the first tamer Spiritual Beast E-Lara and as the second tamer Ritual Beast E-Lara. So this can be a hint that can help you learn the deck. Just want to mention that if you're trying to learn the combos, you will always in the 1-card starters search Lara first, new Lara first, and then you will search OG Lara. Or that will be the order in which the tamers will come out of the deck, if you want to put it that way. So yeah, let's continue. Cannahawk will banish or new Lara to a special summon or Ritual Beast E-Lara. Now we have Cannahawk and Lara on the field. We're gonna banish them both to special summon or ulti-cannahawk. Using ulti-cannahawk effect, we're gonna target both Laras. And we're gonna change the effect to diffuse, targeting our Spiritual Beast E-Lara and our Cannahawk. Lara goes to the graveyard and we search. Now, another thing I want to mention here is that if you're trying to learn the combos, you can think about the next logical steps, and that can help you think about the combo in the long term. That will help you learn better the combos in the long term. For example, here we have Cannahawk in the field, so we're gonna search. So we're gonna be able to banish a monster, no? So we're gonna search a card that special summon the banish monster, and this is gonna be Wen. So when in hand, we're gonna use Cannahawk effect to banish our Rampengu. And now we're gonna use our Spiritual Beast E-Lara and our Cannahawk to special summon or ulti-cannahawk. Using ulti-cannahawk Falco effect, we're gonna banish our Cannahawk, and this is an important step. It's gonna come to play later on. We're gonna banish Cannahawk to normal summon or Wen. With Wen effect, we're gonna special summon our Rampengu. Now using Rampengu, we're gonna banish a copy of ulti-cannahawk from our extra deck and send to the graveyard a copy of Winda. Now with Rampengu on the field and Wen, now again we can think about the next step in the combo. We have Winda in the graveyard, and Winda has the ability to fuse and defuse. We want the ability to defuse, no? And of all our tamers, the only one that hasn't been a special summon yet is Winda that we just sent with Rampengu. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna use our Winda and our Lara in graveyard to go into a copy of our ulti-no-show Dragon. Now with ulti-no-show in the field, we're gonna use our Rampengu and our Wen to fuse once more into our ulti-cannahawk. Using ulti-cannahawk effect, we're gonna target our Cannahawk and we're gonna target our Wen. We're gonna change the effect to defuse. As we mentioned before, we're gonna special summon our Winda and our Wen. Cannahawk goes to the graveyard and we search. Now here's where things start to diverge a little bit from the original line that I showcased in my last video. Instead of searching for Bone here, we're gonna search Eeelder. The reason behind that is because we're gonna use Winda, Wen, and Cannahawk as materials to special summon or ulti-ray rotary. So we're not gonna go through diffusion first and after using bonds, we're gonna go directly into a properly summon ulti-ray rotary. Now we're gonna use ulti-ray effect to add Cannahawk to the hand. And normal summon or Eeelder. Eeelder's effect allows to normal summon one more time for Cannahawk. Using Cannahawk effect, we are gonna be able to banish a copy of Apelio. Using Eeelder and Cannahawk on the field, we're gonna contact fuse into ulti-cannahawk once more. And using ulti-cannahawk, we're gonna target or Rampengu and target or Eeelder. And we're gonna change the effect to the fuse, targeting our Eeelder and Apelio. You can see how the steps go after each other. We have Cannahawk Eeelder in the field and we wanna be able to defuse, no? So we banish something and then we're gonna go ahead and fuse and defuse, no? So we special summon or Eeelder, special summon or Apelio. Rampengu goes to the graveyard and we wanna search a copy of Steeds. Using Apelio effect, we're gonna banish or properly summon Falcon. Now here we have multiple options. We can use our Eeelder and Apelio to go into our IP. This is normally the option I prefer. The reason why I like it so much is because in the opponent's turn, you can use our ulti-ray rotary to go into Falcon and use Falcon to go into E-Lara and Cannahawk. And then we have 3 materials here for a 3 material Palooza. Or we can also threaten to a special summon a copy of Spirited Knife for 2 banishes. Another option we have here is to use our Apelio or Eeelder and or Ultinochi to go into a copy of Ulti Gaia Apelio. This line is interesting because it also allows to play around Super Poly. It's something that we might need to consider depending on how the format develops, no? And I think that Ulti Gaia Apelio is pretty good if we have a lot of Ritual Beast cards in hand. The last option we can evaluate here is to use our Apelio and our Eeelder for a copy of ulti-cannahawk. And we can use ulti-cannahawk effect, returning 2 to get a second Steed hand. Now, if you think about it, this line looks exactly as looks very similar to the line that we did with Bond. And you would think it's pretty much the same amount of interruptions, no? That we use these 2 for IP, and then we have 1 IP 2 3 and Steeds as a 4, no? Now the big optimization here comes when you think about turn 3, because this ulti-ray rotary was properly summoned, and that comes into play a lot when you go into turn 3. Things that you can do then is that if you search, for example, if the ulti-ray rotary goes to the graveyard, you can search Zefra Pilica. And Zefra Pilica can go ahead and special summon your ulti-ray back, and ulti-ray can then go ahead and search something that is banished, and you can use the extra normal summon of ulti-ray right away. So it's a big difference when it comes into playing, thinking about trying to win the match as a whole. What it seems to be a small optimizations could define the outcome of a match, just like that.
Just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
Right, so the next combo we're gonna look into is the Rampengu Combo. And this combo has a small difference that could be relevant comes turn 2 and turn 3 in the match. Let me show you what I mean. We're gonna start with summoning Rampengu and using Rampengu effect. With it, we're gonna banish or ulti Falcon to send to the graveyard a copy of Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara. I will Lara engrave and Rampengu in the field. We're gonna banish them both to special summon a copy of ulti-cannahawk dragon. Wanna use a Spiritual Beast E-Lara effect to special summon a copy of Cannahawk. Wanna use Cannahawk effect here to banish a copy of Ritual Beast E-Lara. And again, this is what I mentioned before when we were explaining the Cannahawk combo. The first two tamers that you always get out of the deck in the one card starters are gonna be a Spiritual Beast E-Lara and Ritual Beast E-Lara. Something important if you are trying to learn the combos. Lara is gonna be banished with Cannahawk effect. And now we're gonna use our ulti-cannahawk dragon to special summon our Spiritual Beast E-Lara. We're gonna immediately use her and use our Cannahawk to special summon or ulti-cannahawk. Use ulti-cannahawk effect. We're gonna target Rampengu, and we're gonna target Rampengu, and we're gonna target our Spiritual Beast E-Lara, and we're gonna change the effect to defuse, targeting our Rampengu and our Lara. We're gonna summon them into the field, send a Spiritual Beast E-Lara into the graveyard, and we search for a copy of Ritual Beast Bones. Now, something interesting with the new combo lines is that the only combo line that requires Bones now is the combo line that we're doing right now. It's the Rampengu alone combo line. So Bone, for the most part, should be evaluated in the deck as a tool for dodging fake negations, and also so that we can utilize for OTK coming turn 3. So that's something to keep in mind. So we play one Bone, and it will be interesting to see if actually the deck could be played without it. Something we still have to evaluate. But as far as combos goes, Bones is only required for this one. So we're gonna use Rampengu effect. And a different here from the previous combo is that Rampengu was sending Apelio into the graveyard by banishing our ulti Apelio. We're gonna change that. Now Rampengu is gonna be banishing our ulti Kimufalco to send to the graveyard a copy of Winda. Now Winda in graveyard, we're gonna use Bones to banish our Lara and Rampengu and a special summon of our Ulti Ray Rautari. Now we're gonna use Ulti Ray effect, target our Lara, add her to the hand, and normal summon her. With Lara on the field, we're gonna use her trigger effect to special summon our Winda. Now we can use our Winda and our Lara to special summon or ulti-cannahawk. Now something important to mention here is that we currently only have in the graveyard our Spiritual Beast E-Lara. So we're gonna end up sending to the graveyard for Cannahawk effect a Ritual Beast Tamer and a Spiritual Beast. The reason behind that is that will allow us to, after we use Lara effect, next turn summon ulti-cannahawk dragon into the field. So we're gonna send back Lara and Rampengu in this case. And we search a copy of Steeds. And this will be our Embor. Now the big difference here is that we can defuse or we can defuse our Cannahawk into our Spiritual Beast Cannahawk and Spiritual Beast Tamer Winda, which has the floating effect. So the big difference we have before we use Apelio. I was able to summon Apelio into the field, but now we have Winda, and we still have what we need for ulti-cannahawk dragon. We still have more resources in here to defuse, and we still have our two interruptions. Alright, so the next combo line I'm gonna showcase is the Eeelder Cannahawk Combo. It's another combo that Swisky helped improve on. And something interesting with this combo, actually, a small tip if you are learning the deck, is that the Eeelder Cannahawk Combo and the Eeelder Rampengu Combo are actually for the most part the same combo lines. So it's something to keep in mind. If you're learning the deck, learning these two combos together is very useful because at some point early in the combo, they burst together into the exact same combo. Let me show you what I mean. Let's get started with the Eeelder Cannahawk combo. I'm gonna normal summon Eeelder and normal summon Cannahawk. Using Cannahawk effect, I'm gonna banish from my deck a copy of Rampengu. Now, something interesting here is that I should recall my playing through Huntress video. If you wanna play through Nibiru, you could banish a copy of Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara instead. Now, the big difference here is that if you banish a copy of Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara and you try to play through Nibiru, your board is gonna be way weaker than if you banish Rampengu and go with the proper stronger combo line. So something else to keep in mind. Another thing I want to mention is that for these combos, there is a different line that I'm going to showcase later that Swisky discovered that end up with a rank 4 and a Steed on the field. And that's going to become very important once we start talking about the deck list for the deck. So let's put a pin on that and we'll get back to that conversation in a little bit. But just to reiterate, if you want to play through Nibiru, has a different video that showcases how you can search here a Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara and try to play through Nib using her effect. But as we are trying to present the proper combo line, the stronger combo line in this video, we're gonna be searching Rampengu instead. So Cannahawk effect will banish Rampengu, and now using Cannahawk and Eeelder, we're gonna fuse into our ulti-cannahawk. I'm gonna use ulti-cannahawk effect and we're gonna target here Rampengu and Cannahawk to be sent to the graveyard. And we're gonna banish ulti-cannahawk, targeting Rampengu and targeting Eeelder. Now the reason we're doing things in this order is because we want two monsters in the graveyard to summon our ulti no-show dragon. And you will see once you start learning these combos, if you start thinking about the step ahead, it's way easier to don't make mistakes while performing the combo lines. So here, if we think about it, we're gonna be using Rampengu and Eeelder. We're gonna be special summon Rampengu and Eeelder into the field and sending Cannahawk into the graveyard. And our objective is to put an ulti no-show dragon in the field by banishing two monsters from the grave. So, what card do we need to search to follow up if we have banished monsters? Well, the cards that will help us with that will be a copy of Ritual Beast Tamer 1. Now we're gonna use Rampengu on the field to banish a Psychic Ritual Beast monster from our extra deck. Play two ulti-cannahawk Falcons, so I'm gonna banish one of her. To send to the graveyard a copy of our Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara. Now with Lara and Cannahawk in the graveyard, I'm gonna banish both of them to special summon or ulti no-show dragon. And using Lara effect, I'm gonna special summon into the field from our deck a copy of Spiritual Beast Tamer Winda. Now at this point, the two combo lines had become one. So I'm gonna showcase in a little bit the Rampengu Eeelder starter. But that starter and this starter, the Cannahawk Eeelder, always reach this point in the middle, where you have ulti no-show dragon, Winda, Rampengu, and Eeelder together with Wen in hand. So just something to keep in mind. Now as you're learning the combos, this is the board you're looking for, and you should wanna think about a combo as different pieces. This is sort of like the checkpoint that you're trying to reach first. Now something important with this combo, something that's gonna help you a lot learn this combo, is that once you reach this point in the board, this part of the board will always be here all the way until the very end of the combo. We're gonna use Winda for a fusion summon. But this part of the board will be here all the way until the very end. And we're gonna be working with these spaces or these zones over here instead. So that can help you reduce the mental load that you have while performing the combo. Knowing that this will stay together, we know we're gonna be working with these cards instead. Now we have Rampengu in the field, and we have our Eeelder. Now send them both to the graveyard to link summon for our ulti-cannahawk. Ulti-cannahawk in the field gonna activate her effect. By banishing a copy of Rampengu, I can normal summon Wen. Wen will allow me to special summon my banished Cannahawk, and with Cannahawk effect, I'm going to banish a copy of Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara. Now with both of Lara's banished here, I'm gonna banish Cannahawk, and I'm gonna banish Wen. To special summon or ulti-cannahawk. Now I'm gonna use ulti-cannahawk effect, and I'm gonna target our ulti-cannahawk together with one of the two copies of Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara that we have banished. I'm gonna change the effect, and something I wanna mention here that I think is important to remember is the way that the clause that limit the amount of Ritual Beast monsters that we can summon in a turn is described in their cards. So if you look very close, it's something I mentioned in my previous video, but towards the very end, you will notice that the Ritual Beast monster mentioned that they can only be a special summon once per turn, and there is an S on the name of the card. What that means is that you can special summon them only once per turn, but you can special summon more than one copy at the same time. That's something to keep in mind. Another thing to mention is that Spiritual Beast Tamer Winda and Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara are called Spiritual Beast Tamers. So they count as a Spiritual Beast and a Ritual Beast Tamer. It's an important thing to keep in mind while thinking about the combos. So as I return to the extra deck, my ulti-cannahawk, I'm gonna special summon my two Spiritual Beast Tamer Laras, and send my Cannahawk to the graveyard to search from my deck to my hand a copy of Steeds. Now, different from the previous combo, here was searching Steeds. In the previous combo, we would have searched all Ritual Beast Bones. You will have noticed that this combo ended up in one more piece of interruption thanks to this change. Now we're gonna use both our Laras and our Cannahawk to special summon or ulti-cannahawk. As you see here, we properly special summon ulti-ray, and this is very important because, as I mentioned, now we can, in turn 3, we can bring it back into the field, we can revive it with any of the monsters we have, like Lara, Zefra or Wen, and it will help us extend more combos. We're gonna use ulti-ray effect, adding Cannahawk to the hand, and then normal summoning Cannahawk. Now with Cannahawk in the field, we're gonna use his effect, and we're gonna banish a copy of Spiritual Beast Apelio. Using Cannahawk and Winda, we're gonna fuse into our ulti-cannahawk. We're gonna use ulti-cannahawk targeting our Rampengu and targeting our Wen. And we're gonna change the effect to defuse, targeting our Wen and targeting our Apelio. Gonna special both them into the field, and we get to search, in this case, a second copy of Steeds. But something interesting here is that now we have Apelio in the field and we can activate this effect. Remember, because we properly summon our ulti-cannahawk or properly summon Cannahawk and our two Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara are in the field. So now we can banish our Cannahawk with the effect of Apelio, and we have the ability to revive it later on in the opponent's turn, because this is the properly summoned one. And this is basically the pieces that we have for the Ember. One thing I want to mention here is that we searched two Steeds here, but we could also have searched some follow-up. We could have searched Zefra or Lara, or even another copy of Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara, depending on how our hand look, no? So we could have searched some follow-up instead. or even search bonds, so it can help us dodge some interactions in the opponent's turn. One thing I want to mention is that we can use the monsters in the field that we have to do different boards here. We can use all 3 monsters to fuse into our ulti guy Apelio. And we have 2 cards in hand, or 1 if we set 1 Steed, to interact with your opponent. Now another thing that we can do is that we can use our Apelio and our Winda to search from our deck another copy of ulti-cannahawk, to special summon, ulti-cannahawk search from our deck by returning to the graveyard some monsters, and this will allow us to add to our hand another Ritual Beast card. Maybe we want some follow, maybe we want bonds, but it's another alternative we want to keep in mind. And by the way, if you're returning the cards back, remember to leave Cannahawk Vanish because you can special summon it still, no? So we probably want to return these 2 instead of the Cannahawk, or maybe when they went to the graveyard. Another thing we can do is that we can utilize these 2 monsters to go into our IP. And this is personally what I prefer doing, because that way in the opponent's turn we can use our IP to go into SP. And not only that, our ulti Nocho Dragon can be defused into our ulti Cannahawk. Our Cannahawk can be defused into a copy of Apelio and a copy of Winda. What we can do next is that we can use our IP. We could use both monsters to go into a 3 material Appaloosa, or instead of Appaloosa we can use one of our monsters, Apelio, and one thing we can do also is that we can use Apelio effect to banish one of the E-Laras and trigger her effect to special summon even another Ritual Beast monster from our deck. So in this moment we could special summon in our opponent's turn E-Lara to put her in circulation, or Zefra. And what we can do with these monsters is that we use all of them to go into a 4 material Appaloosa. Another option we have is once we have this board like this, if you play Underworld Goddess, you can use the monsters in the field to go for Underworld Goddess too. So there's plenty of options on this we can do with this board. Another alternative is to use our IP and our Apelio to go for an SP Little Line. An SP will have the ability to banish, and when the opponent interact with it, we have the ability to banish something else. And we still have Winda for the floating effect.
Bienvenidos al Clásico. Ahora mismo este escenario, el estadio Santiago Bernabéu, es el...
Alright, so now let's go with the other combo line we mentioned earlier, the Eeelder Rampengu combo line. We normal summon Eeelder, we're gonna normal summon Rampengu. Using Rampengu effect, we're gonna banish from the extra deck a copy of ulti-cannahawk. To send to the graveyard a copy of our Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara. Now something interesting about this combo is that I personally currently in the deck, as I'm playing the deck, if I have to pick a 2-card starter to go for, I normally pick this one. The reason behind it is because when you perform the full power Eeelder Rampengu combo, the first card you send to the graveyard is your Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara. What this means is that this combo line is very optimal into playing through interruptions. So if you get nip in the diffusion of these monsters, as we're gonna do in a little bit, you still have Lara in the graveyard to keep playing. So if you're gonna pick a combo line to play through interruptions, this is normally a really good safe bet, no? So we have Eeelder and Rampengu in the field. We use Rampengu effect. We're gonna fuse now. Using our Eeelder and using our Rampengu, we're gonna go into our ulti-cannahawk. We're gonna use ulti-cannahawk effect. And one thing I wanna mention here too is that when you are returning monsters into graveyards, helpful, sort of like a rule of thumb that you want to keep in mind, is to target monsters and decide what has to return to graveyard. Normally, you can think of monsters in a specific order. Normally, I try to do monsters from the extra decks, tamers, and spiritual beasts. And by the way, again, this is a rule of thumb. This is not something you're gonna do all the time, but if you're in a high pressure situation, if you're in a tournament last round or game 3, you have to play really fast and you have the time to actually think too much about it. It's normally a really helpful tip to try to send whatever you have multiple copies on. To target whatever you have multiple copies on. So earlier, we had 2 spiritual beasts and an Eeelder. So I prefer to target these 2 to send to the graveyard and change the effect to the few, targeting this and the one I want. No? I think it's easier than targeting a tamer and a spiritual beast and then targeting the tamer and a different spiritual beast. Because that way you don't have to decide, how you defuse. No? That way the decision is made for you. If you target these 2, then it makes sense to target this one, and you have to target this one because it's the only tamer you have. No? So just something to keep in mind when you are playing the deck. I think these small tips really go a long way when playing a deck as complex as this one. So let's go back to this. We're gonna have Banish or Eeelder, or Kimufalco, and or Rampengu. We're gonna target these 2. I'm gonna change the effect to diffuse, targeting Rampengu and or Eeelder. Special summon both of them. Kimufalco goes into the graveyard and we search to our hand a copy of Winda. Now we're gonna use Rampengu effect, and this time from our extra deck we're gonna banish an ulti-cannahawk. And that way we can send a Thunder Ritual Beast monster into a graveyard. That is gonna be our Cannahawk. And now we're gonna use our Cannahawk and our Lara in the graveyard and banish both of them to special summon our ulti no-show dragon. Now banishing Lara trigger her effect to special summon from the deck, in this case a copy of Winda. And here you can notice that the board situation or banish pile has one more monster, but for the most part, apart from that, it's exactly the same board, hand, and banish and grave that we had in the previous combo, in the Eeelder Cannahawk combo. So at this point, both combos become the same. So you're learning the combo lines. This is a very important, sort of like a checkpoint or fork in the road, where you have to know that both converge into a single combo, and that can help you learn the combo lines for the deck. Similar to what I mentioned with Eeelder Cannahawk, this part of the board is gonna stay the same. We're gonna work on this one, and it's gonna be almost until the very end of the combo. We're gonna remain the same on this side of the board. So I have Eeelder and Rampengu on the field. I'm gonna send them both into a graveyard so I can link summon a copy of our ulti-cannahawk. Now I can use ulti-cannahawk here, and another tip here is that we have Eeelder, Rampengu, and Cannahawk banish. I wanna always try to have a tamer and a spiritual beast in the graveyard, just so we can go into ulti-no-show dragon. Obviously we already did that this turn, but for the next turn we wanna have this available in the grave. So in this case, I'm gonna be banishing a copy of or Ritual Beast ulti-cannahawk. And stuff like this can come up in the middle of combos like this. So we have in this case a copy of Winda. If Winda gets impermanence, well, we have these 2 raid for next turn, and we can set up a super board that we can still protect us to a certain degree. No? So we have Rampengu and Eeelder in the grave. We banish Cannahawk. Using one effect, we can special summon or banish Cannahawk. Now with Cannahawk in the field, we're gonna use his effect to banish from our deck a copy of Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara. Now with Winda and Cannahawk on the field, we're gonna use them both as fusion materials. Remember, Wen was normal summon from the hand, so she hasn't been a special summon yet. Using Cannahawk effect, I'm gonna target a copy of our ulti-cannahawk. I want to target one of our 2 spiritual beast tamer Laras. Now, as I mentioned in my previous video, because of the clause that the ritual beast monsters have, as I mentioned in the previous combo too, you see the S at the end, that allows to special summon both the copies at the same time. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna defuse or ulti-cannahawk. And remember, these are spiritual beast tamers, so they count as both spiritual beast and a ritual beast tamer. So we can special summon both at the same time, send Cannahawk into the graveyard, and use Cannahawk effect to search a copy of Steeds. Now we're gonna use both Laras and Cannahawk in the field, which by the way was properly special summon, for our ulti ray Rautare. Gonna use ulti ray effect, targeting or banish Cannahawk. Cannahawk is added to the hand, and we get a normal summon. We normal summon Cannahawk and use this effect. Using Cannahawk effect, we're gonna banish a copy of Apelio. Then we're gonna use Cannahawk and Winda to fuse once more into our ulti-cannahawk. Now, using ulti-cannahawk effect, remember, we still have our Eeelder and Rampengu in the grave, so we don't want to send more ritual based monsters into the graveyard and take them out of circulation. So in this case, we're going to be targeting our ulti-cannahawk, and I'm going to be targeting our Apelio. And then we're going to target Apelio and win special summon into the field. Special win, special summon Apelio, send ulti-cannahawk into the graveyard, and we search. And here we have some options. Some copies, lately some copies in the OCG have been playing only one Ritual Beast Steeds. So one option that you have, if you are only playing one, is that instead of the second copy of Steeds you could search, is that you could search for bones that can help you dodge some effects in your opponent's turn. Or you can search for Lara for follow-up, or Zefra Pelican. So you have plenty of options of what to search. In this case, if you're playing 2 copies of Steeds, it's normally a good idea to search the second copy. Again, the one thing that we want to do at this point is that we want to use a Apelio effect to banish or properly summon Cannahawk, and then we have that ready for our opponent's turn to special summon into the field by defusing our ulti Dragon. This is basically the board we have. We have 2 negates. We have the ability to use when on Apelio to go into an IP. And then we can use our IP and our ulti Dragon, or we can defuse our ulti Dragon to go into Cannahawk, and we can defuse Cannahawk into Cannahawk and Winda, and that way we can link our IP and our Cannahawk into our SP Little Knight, or we can link our IP or Winda and our Cannahawk into a copy of Appaloosa. So we have plenty of options here. Again, similar to how I mentioned before, we also have the option to go with these 3 monsters into an ulti guy Apelio. And remember, we have 2 Steeds, so we could keep one in hand for negates, and if we have more Ritual Beasts in hand, we can use those for more interaction. And the last option we have here is that we can utilize our Apelio Wen once more and go again into our ulti-cannahawk. Using ulti-cannahawk effect, we can return some monsters into the grave, and similar to what I mentioned before, we could search for some follow-up, or we could search for bones instead.
clásico de la temporada entre el Fútbol Club Barcelona y el Real Madrid, que ya...
Now, I mentioned earlier that our Eeelder Cannahawk starter had the ability to put a rank 4 as part of the Embor, together with Steeds and a ulti-rotary. This is also possible, by the way, if you use the Eeelder Rampengu starter. You notice we're gonna reach again the familiar checkpoint in the middle of the combo, and from there on we're gonna make some small alterations to go ahead and reach the Embor that we want to complete. So let's get started. We start with the Eeelder Cannahawk Combo in hand. We normal summon Eeelder, normal summon Cannahawk. Using Cannahawk effect, we banish Rampengu. Using Eeelder and Cannahawk on the field, we're gonna banish them both. To summon our Ritual Beast ulti-cannahawk. Now we're gonna target both spiritual based monsters, and we're gonna change the effect to Defuse, targeting our Rampengu and our Eeelder. So special summon Rampengu, special summon Eeelder. Cannahawk goes to the graveyard, and we search our deck for a copy of our Ritual Beast Tamer Wen. Now with Wen in hand, we're gonna use Rampengu effect. This time we're gonna banish one of the two copies of Cannahawk that I play, and send to the graveyard a Psychic Ritual Beast monster. In this case, our Spiritual Beast E-Lara. Now with Lara and Cannahawk in the graveyard, we're gonna banish both of them to special summon or ulti no show dragon. Now we can trigger our Lara effect to special summon from the deck a copy of Spiritual Beast Tamer Winda. Now we are in the familiar board that we're used to now. We have No Show Dragon, Winda, Eeelder and Rampengu, and Cannahawk together with Spiritual Beast E-Lara and another Ritual Beast monster, Banish. Not to mention we also have Wen in hand. Similar to what I mentioned in the previous combo, this part of the board is gonna stay the same for most of the combo, and we're gonna be working on these zones. First thing we're gonna do, similar to before, is that we're gonna use Rampengu and Eeelder to special summon a copy of Ritual Beast ulti-cannahawk. Using ulti-cannahawk effect, I'm gonna banish our Rampengu to normal summon our Wen. Using Wen effect, I'm gonna special summon our Cannahawk. And with Cannahawk in the field, I'm gonna use the effect of Cannahawk, and here's where the differences in the combo come. Swisky was able to find out that if you banish the Apelio here, you're able to make a very good end board that also contains a rank 4 monster in the field. So let's go and continue our combo. Instead of banishing the second Lara, we banish our Apelio instead. Now with Apelio banish, we're gonna still fuse, similar to how we did before, for our ulti-cannahawk. I'm gonna use ulti-cannahawk effect, and we're gonna change the effect to the fuse. In this case, you see we only have Eeelder in the graveyard, and we wanna have also a Spiritual Beast in the grave. So we're gonna target our Rampengu, target our Apelio, I want to change the effect to the fuse, targeting our Wen and our Apelio. Wen and Apelio are gonna be a special summon to the field. Rampengu goes into the graveyard, and we're gonna search. Still for a copy of Steeds. Now comes one of the key differences with this combo. We wanna use Wen, ulti-no-show dragon, and Cannahawk to special summon or ulti-rotary. Now ulti-rotary on the field, we wanna use Apelio effect. Remember, Apelio haven't activated his effect yet. To banish our Wen. Now with Wen banish, We can use ulti-ray effect to add Wen to the hand. We can normal summon Wen and special summon or banish E-Lara. And now we have all the pieces we need for our Embor. We'll do a couple of things here. The first thing we wanna do is, if we try to set it up, we're gonna be able to make a rank 4 here. And a lot of people in the OCG have been playing Abyss Dweller lately. But you could also make a Baguska or any other rank 4 that you feel is appropriate for the format. Apart from that, we can use our Wen and our Lara, and here we have some options too. We could use Wen and Lara to go into a copy of ulti-cannahawk, and if we do so, we can search another Steed to the hand. And then with a board that has our ulti-cannahawk, 2 Steeds in hand, ulti-ray, and Abyss Dweller, which I think is a very strong board. Now, if we prefer, we can use instead our Wen and our Lara to go into an IP. Now, the thing to keep in mind with this Embor is that you keep a Steeds in hand, but you only have one destruction with Steeds. So you have to keep that in mind whenever you utilize your destruction. But the good thing of this Embor is that Abyss Dweller effect in particular is one that you can activate at the start of the opponent's combo, and then you can just use the body to make a Little Knight. And the important thing I want to mention here too is that in this combo, as you notice, if we end up in IP, we only search one Steed. Now, a trend that have been catching a lot of attention in the OCG around Ritual Beast decks is that they are dropping the second Steeds. So they're only playing one Steed in the main deck. Now, if you're only playing one Steed in the main deck, the other Embor ends in 2 Steeds. So it's something we need to think about for the format. If we have only one Steed in the main deck, maybe this is the better Embor to go for. Or if we have 2 Steeds in the main deck, maybe the other Embor is the one we want to go for. So just something to consider once you are coming with your deck list, and once you are thinking which Embor will you prefer. And again, I want to reiterate again, this Embor is possible with or Eeelder Cannahawk Combo or Rampengu Cannahawk Combo. So it's going to be an Embor that is very accessible in the deck. Alright, so while I was editing the video, I realized that there is one more Embor that you're able to make, and this is not so much an Embor, but mostly something I want to mention for any combo that search 2 Steeds. So for all the combos, I believe, for all the combos that search 2 Steeds, you are able to also do this instead, so just keep that in mind. So I'm going to showcase it here with Eeelder Cannahawk, but you can also do this with Eeelder Rampengu or Spirit of Beast E-Lara Eeelder and many of the other combos that search 2 Steeds that are in this video, okay? So we're going to go through the typical combo for Eeelder Cannahawk. And this is exactly the same thing I showcased earlier. Just Spanish Rampengu, Spanish Boston, ulti-cannahawk, activate the effect, chain effects the fuse, special Eeelder, special Rampengu, send Cannahawk, search Wen, activate Rampengu, send Kimu Falcon, send E-Lara, banish E-Lara and Cannahawk, special Nochi, activate Spiritual Beast E-Lara, special Winda, use Rampengu and Eeelder to go into ulti-Kimu Falcon, Kimufalco effect, banish Rampengu. Normal summon when effect, special Cannahawk, Cannahawk effect, search and banish. Copy of Lara. Cannahawk when. Remember when haven't been special yet. Ulti-cannahawk. Activate the effect, chain effect the fuse, sending back Kimufalco to the graveyard, special summoning both Laras, searching the deck, and this is the first difference here. So for all these combos, remember beforehand we were searching two Steeds, no? Now what we're gonna do is something a little bit different. For the first search, we're gonna search our third and last copy that I actually don't have in this half of the deck of Spiritual Beast E-Lara. So we're gonna search Lara, no? For the first search. Now we notice we have the both Laras and we have Kimufalco. Send them both into the grave to a special summon Ulti Ray Rautari. And with Ulti Ray effect, we're able to add Cannahawk to the hand. Normal summon Cannahawk, use Cannahawk effect to banish Apelio. And this is the typical stuff we have seen before in the combo when I was demonstrating it a couple of minutes ago, no? Remember when having been a special summon either. So now we can use Winda and Cannahawk to go into Cannahawk more. And with the Cannahawk effect, we activate the effect and we change the fuse, sending Rampengu back and special summoning Wen and Apelio. And we search. And what we're gonna do here, and this is something you can do in a lot of combos, is that you see that in this case we have Lara in the deck. For this particular combo, we have Lara and Zefra in the deck. For in most cases, you will have one of the two in the deck. And in general, you will say you will want to keep Zefra and use Lara first. And here is another reason why, you will see in just a minute. So we bring out Zefra. So instead of having two states in hand, we have our Spiritual Beast E-Lara and we have Zefra. Alright? And we are not gonna use Apelio effect yet. We're gonna hold on using Apelio effect. So before in the other combo, we will have two Steeds in hand and we use Apelio to banish or properly summon oops, it's the second one. Or properly summon Kimufalco, no? And that way we can use Utinoshi to go into Kimufalco in the opponent's turn. So we're not doing that. Instead, what we're gonna do here, so we're gonna use Lara effect in hand, which we haven't used yet. So if you notice, you cannot do this endboard with combos that start with Lara because you use her effect at the start of the combo, no, to get the extra normal summon. And after you do your regular normal summon for Eeelder and Rampengu or Eeelder and Cannahawk, no? So that's a different story. But in this particular scenario, and this happens a lot when you're gonna search for the combos. Remember, instead of searching two Steeds, we're searching Spiritual Beast E-Lara and Zefra instead, okay? So we can do is that we can use Lara effect in hand, which we haven't used yet, to normal summon Zefra and use Zefra effect to special summon or properly summon copy of ulti-cannahawk. And then here we have some options of things that we can do. And there's some really cool concepts that we can bring into place here. For once, one thing that you can do here, and this is a card we haven't seen in the deck in a long time, and it's a card that was experimented with probably around 2016. But these two are level 3s. And I don't have a copy of it right now, but you can overlay them, and this could go into a ability card Cicada King or into a copy of Totembear too, because these are wind monsters. So that's something we can have in our endboard. And another thing we can do is that we can use still use Apelio if we want and the Noshi to go into something like a Pit Mascarena. And then in the opponent's turn we can still defuse Kimufalco, because as you notice we have Winda and Cannahawk to go into a Palooza, no? With 3 materials. So in that case, we will have a 3 material Palooza, a spell and trap negate if it's Totembear, and a banish. And you notice the only difference, obviously, we have no Steeds, no? So this is gonna be format dependent. December, no? You decide to go for this or not. So, something to keep in mind. Other things we could do here. We just basically have 5 monsters to play with and do whatever we want with. So we could still use or when or ulti-cannahawk on Apelio to go into our ulti guy Apelio. And what we can end up with is an ulti guy Apelio and use the other effect, these two, for an IP Mascarena. And she has any Ritual Beast in hand, that way you end up with an ulti guy Apelio on board, a Banish, and IP Mascarena that can change that can be changed to the effect of ulti ray targeting itself to go ahead and summon an SP, no? So we have that option too. Another option we can go for here, and this is something, you know, obviously it's not as great as summoning IP, but we could utilize here or when we could utilize Cannahawk to go into our SP. And then we can utilize our or Apelio effect to banish Cannahawk using ulti-noshi to send it back to the extra deck, bring Cannahawk back, and then we could do in the opponent's turn, we could go for IP, and ulti-Cannahawk could go for 2 materials, and we can make a 4 material Apalooza. So some other options that we have there. And the last option I want to mention here is probably the most obvious one. I can't remember what monsters were on the field. This was over here, and it was our ulti-noshi dragon. And we bring back or properly summon Cannahawk. Sure that that's the one in the grave. Yeah, it's 2 there, so 1 come back. Another option we have here is that if we still want to go for an Steed, we can search for 1 Steed instead, no? So we will use Apelio, before using Apelio, before banishing Apelio, sorry, we could use his effect to banish, in this case, we want to be able to keep Rampengu. We have Rampengu and Eeelder. We already have 3 Laras, which is another thing that I like about this line. Let's banish one of the Rampengus, because we can make ulti-noshi with 2 Laras, no? And now we can use our Apelio, and we can use Zefra to go into an ulti-cannahawk. I use ulti-cannahawk effect, and we can bring back the Rampengu, bring back the Cannahawk, search the deck for a copy of Steeds, and now we still have 4 monsters to play with here. So we can still do a similar line to what we did before. We can use these 2 for an IP. I can go into a SP later, or can go into an Apalooza, and we even have more options here, because if you notice, let's say we use these 2 monsters for an IP. Right, we have a Steed set up. Ulti-Cannahawk can go back into the extra deck. We can bring back Winda and Apelio. And Apelio can banish right away one of our. Remember, we have now 3 copies of Lara in graves. So we can banish one of them to a special summon from the deck another monster we haven't put in circulation. It could be Pettlephin, it could be E-Lara. This guy I'm gonna put Lara here, since most people don't. Some people have been cutting Pettlephin. And then you have all these monsters left to play with. And you can go ahead and do a lot of things here. You can go with 4 of these monsters, with 3 of these monsters for a 3 material Apalooza. You can go for a full 4 material Apalooza. Or you could be even you assist monsters in other ways. You know, these two could have been used for an SP, and then you have a possibility of summoning an SP at the same material that you have an Palooza. So just something to keep in mind.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Alright, so the next combo line we're gonna see is the Eeelder Spiritual Beast E-Lara combo. Now this combo is very interesting to me because the combo line I showcased before in my previous video and the combo line in Swisky's video are very different. So we take completely different paths, but we end up in exactly the same endboard. With the exception that Swisky's combo has a little more follow, so I'm gonna be showcasing that one. It's just the one from the previous video. But this just shows the versatility that the deck has to have so many different combo lines, and also how complicated it is to come out with optimal combo lines for the deck, because you have so many steps you can take in so many different iterations or different orders that it makes it difficult to come out with a definitive answer at the end. But for now, this is the combo line that we find the most efficient or the most optimized combo line for the Eeelder Spiritual Beast E-Lara combo. So let's get into it. We're gonna normal summon Eeelder, use traditional normal summon for Lara, and now we're gonna contact fuse both of them into our ulti-cannahawk. Banishing Lara will trigger her effect. With her effect, we're gonna special summon from the deck a Rampengu. Using Rampengu effect, we're gonna banish an ulti-cannahawk and send to the graveyard a copy of Cannahawk. Now we can target our ulti-cannahawk and Eeelder with our effect to search, and we're gonna change the effect to the fuse, targeting our Lara and our Eeelder. So something interesting here is that after we search Lara, remember what I mentioned with the other combos, we wanna try to lessen the mental load that we have while performing the combo, so we're less susceptible to making mistakes. Similar to what I mentioned with the combo before, this part of the board, or in this case the Lara, are gonna remain the same all the way until the end of the combo, and we're gonna be working on this part of the board. So these are the zones we're gonna be working on, and the Lara is gonna remain the same. And I find this very useful if you're playing. One thing you can do with your combos is you can start separating things this way, and that way you know that you're gonna be working on this part of the board, and this part is gonna remain the same. You are less susceptible to try to use this to do something, and we're not gonna use her until the very end of the combo. So let's continue. We have Lara on hand, we have Rampengu and Eeelder on board as with the fuse, and now we're gonna use Rampengu and our Eeelder to fuse. To link, into our ulti-cannahawk. Now we're gonna use ulti-cannahawk effect, banishing our ulti-cannahawk. And the reason why I'm doing this with the ulti-cannahawk banish is that for the most part you always wanna try to have a tamer and a spiritual beast in your graveyard. The reason behind that is because now we have ulti-noshi, and you wanna have access to that in case something goes wrong. You know, if the opponent Neve here, you at least have an ulti-noshi to go for. If you go ahead and this gets impermanent, you still can summon ulti-noshi and create a little bit of a better board, no? So we banish ulti-cannahawk to activate ulti-cannahawk effect and normal summon Lara from our hand. That will trigger Lara effect, which will special summon Cannahawk from the grave. With Cannahawk effect, we're gonna banish from the deck a copy of our spiritual beast tamer, Winda. Then we're gonna fuse our Lara that was normal summon from the hand and our Cannahawk into ulti-cannahawk once more. And we're gonna use ulti-cannahawk effect, targeting our Lara and targeting our ulti-cannahawk. And we're gonna change the effect to the fuse, targeting our Lara and our Winda. So we're gonna special summon Lara and Winda to the field, send ulti-cannahawk to the graveyard, and we're gonna search our deck for a copy of Steeds. And we can use our Falco, Winda, and E-Lara as link materials for a copy of Ulti-Ray Rautare. Now, an important step in here, and the most important to remember about the whole combo, is that we don't want to use Ulti-Ray effect yet. We're gonna, on the other hand, banish E-Lara and banish Winda to special summon or Ulti No Show Dragon. And now that we have Lara banished, we wanna use Ulti-Ray effect to add Lara to the hand, and immediately after, normal summon Lara. Using Lara effect, we're able to revive for Ulti Falco, and now we have the materials that we wanna utilize for our combo, for our Ember, sorry. We can use Lara and Lara for our ulti-cannahawk to search a second copy of this we want. Now, an important thing here is that as you do display, you can see there's a Cannahawk in the grave and there is a ulti-cannahawk in the field too. You play 2 copies of ulti-cannahawk, this is very risky because you end up in a board that you have ulti-cannahawk in the field and you have no way to defuse until the opponent's draw. So in the end phase, if you get nip here, you basically lose the game because you will not have any ulti-cannahawk in the extra deck, and it's going to be very, very hard to recover and amount resources on turn 3 to come back into a match without that. So just something to keep in mind. But if you decide for that line, especially second ulti-cannahawk, we can go ahead and target or Spirit of Wisdom E-Lara, and we can target or Cannahawk, return to the graveyard to search for a second copy of Steeds to the hand. Another thing with this line, obviously, is that you will need to play 2 Steeds, no? Otherwise, you can also search a Bone or some sort of follow-up like Pilika or Gwen. So that's one option we have. The other option we have in here is that we can use our Lara, both Laras, as link materials for IP Masquerena. And then we have an interesting play in the opponent's turns. We can defuse Falco that we had with our combos, and we have the materials that we can use for an Appaloosa, or we can use these two for an SP that will immediately has a banish and can banish something later on too. So that's another option we have. The last option that I want to present here is that we can use all these 3 monsters, banish them to, instead of link, summon, fusion summon, copy of Ulti Gaia Apelio. That way we have a Steeds, and we have any other card in hand, we have a negate Ulti Gaia Apelio. And only that, we have the targeted protection with Noshi for the Ulti Gaia Apelio too. So very, very good combo. And also in our opponent's turn, since Falco is banished, we can use our Noshi to go into Falco, which at the same time can go into Winda and Lara, which offer destruction protection for our Gaia Apelio, and also Winda has the floating effect that we can utilize to get some follow-up for the next turn.
Scott, prepare to beam us up.
Alright, so the next combo line we're gonna cover is the Eeelder E-Tele line. This is a combo line that Swisky discovered this combo, and it's very, very interesting combo line. Actually, I give him a lot of credit on this one because it's a very unusual combo line, and it actually ended up in a really, really good board, and it goes through a lot of very specific searches and play sequence to be able to end the board. And he also has a video in which he discusses this line and also some follow-up for turn 3 that this line can provide and that they can provide in general. So again, I will incentivize you to go ahead and check his channel and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Now, one last thing to mention with this combo line, and this is very, very important. This is one of 2 combo lines that require us to play Ulti Apelio. Now, I speak with Swisk about this, and we tried to come up with a line that was as strong as this one without using Ulti Apelio in the extra decks, and we couldn't. So Just bear that in mind. And right now working on a different video to see if we actually want to play with Apelio or not. Because it came out on 2 of the 17, I believe 17, yeah, different combo lines that the decks have for 1 or 2 card starters. So I'm not sure if that make it worth it. I'm not sure if it make it not worth it. I'm currently working on that, but in the meantime, this is the most efficient, the best Eeelder E-Tele combo line that we know. Alright, so let's begin with our combo. One normal summon Eeelder, which remember will give us an additional normal summon this turn. I want to activate emergency teleport. Now with E-Tele, we wanna special summon a copy of Spiritual Beast de E-Lara. Gonna use Eeelder and Lara to fuse into ulti-cannahawk. Now because Lara was banished, we wanna use her effect to special summon from our deck a copy of the OG Lara. Now with Lara on the field, we wanna use Cannahawk effect, sending both into the graveyard to search our deck for Cannahawk. Remember what I mentioned earlier, because of Eeelder normal summon, we have an extra normal summon this turn we haven't used. So we wanna use it for our Cannahawk. Wanna use Cannahawk effect to banish from our deck copy of Winda. And we can use our normal summon Cannahawk and our Lara for a second copy of ulti-cannahawk. Now using ulti-cannahawk effect, we wanna target our Winda and our Lara, and we wanna change the effect to the fuse, targeting our normal summon Cannahawk and the Winda that we just banished. With the fuse, send Lara into the graveyard, and we wanna search our deck for a copy of Zefra. We're gonna use Cannahawk effect once more, this time banishing Rampengu. We wanna utilize our Cannahawk and our ulti-cannahawk on the field for our ulti-cannahawk. Now using ulti-cannahawk effect, it's important this part, we're gonna banish Cannahawk. And we want Cannahawk banished because ulti-rerotar is gonna utilize it later in the combo. So important to banish Cannahawk here. With Cannahawk effect, we banish Cannahawk, which will allow us to normal summon Zefra. Now just recall, at the very beginning of the combo, we normal summon Eeelder, and we still haven't special summoned it yet. So we're gonna do just that. Now we're gonna fuse using our Zefra and our Winda into ulti-cannahawk. Using ulti-cannahawk effect, we're gonna target Rampengu, remember this was just banished. And we're gonna target our Winda. We're gonna change the effect to the fuse, targeting our Zefra and our Rampengu. It's gonna go to the extra deck. This two are gonna be summoned to the field. And our Winda will go into the graveyard, allowing us to search our deck for a copy of Ritual Beast Steeds. Now we can use Rampengu effect. This is the part where the ulti-Apelio comes in handy. We're gonna banish it to send to the graveyard a copy of Apelio. Now we're gonna use our Apelio in the graveyard and our Winda in graveyard and banish them both to a special summon. I should have make a space here, keep that in mind, leave one of the corners open for our ulti-no-show Dragon. Now we're gonna use our Rampengu, our Eeelder, and our Cannahawk as materials to link summon or ulti Ray Rautari. I'm gonna use ulti Ray to add Cannahawk to his hand and immediately normal summon Cannahawk. Using Cannahawk effect, we're gonna banish one Ritual Beast from our deck. In this case, a copy of Bueno. Now we can fuse our Cannahawk and our Zefra into a copy of ulti-cannahawk. Use ulti-cannahawk effect. We will target our ulti Apelio and target Apelio and change the effect to the fuse. Target the Winda that we just sent to the graveyard, that we just banished, sorry, and or Apelio. So ulti Apelio will go into the graveyard, Apelio and Winda are gonna be summoned into the field, and we're gonna search. Now interestingly here, we're searching a second copy of Steeds. But if your deck list does not include a second copy of Steeds, you might want to search some sort of follow-up. There could be additional copies of, there could be like an Eeelder, something like Spiritual Beast and E-Lara, or Ritual Beast Bones. In this case, let's go with the combo and search, continue with the combo with searching a second copy of Steeds. Now small we can use a Apelio effect. Vanishing or Lara. And this is basically the pieces we have for our Ember. Now we have a couple of options similar to before. Now we can use Apelio to banish a monster from our graveyard. We don't have to. We already have 2 Ritual Beasts that we want to keep in the graveyard. Remember, we're always trying to keep a Spiritual Beast and a Tamer on the grave. And we have Lara for protection. So at this moment the best option will be to banish our Kimur Falcon. That was properly summoned, by the way. So after using a Apelio effect, this is basically the piece we have for the Ember. Now, another thing you can do is that you could use a Winda and Apelio, and if you play a third copy of Steeds, or if you wanna search, you have some sort of follow-up in hand, you wanna have some sort of follow-up in hand, you can go ahead and return monster to the graveyard to do that, to search. Now we search twice here, so another thing you can notice is that if you start with your opening hand with 1 Steed, a wise thing to do here is that you will search, this will be 2 Ritual Beast cards, and we could fuse these 3 monsters into our ulti-Gaia Apelio. Ulti-Gaia Apelio we have those 2 negates in hand, the 2 cards we search, and these cards could be our Spiritual Beast and E-Lara. That one goes to the graveyard, has an effect, and if we don't use them and remain in our hand, it will give us a normal summon next turn, so very useful. Now another Ember that we can present here is that we can utilize these 2 monsters to summon an IP, and that way in our opponent's turn, Noche can go into the extra, 2 special Kimur Falcon that can also go into the extra deck, 2 special summon or Winda, and a special summon, in this case, or Lara. And that way we have Winda floating effect, and we can use IP and Lara to make an SP Little Knight. Or we can utilize our IP or Lara and our Winda to make a Palooza with 3 negates. One thing cool about this play is that you have 2 Steeds. That way you can protect a Palooza, and you can probably get the full value of the Palooza with giving you all 3 negates. So those are the options that we have for this particular Ember. Alright, so next lines we're gonna cover are the Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara lines. Now there is 2 lines that we're gonna start with, and it's gonna be the Lara Cannahawk line and the Lara Rampengu line. The reason why I presented these 2 lines together is that similar to the Eeelder Rampengu and the Eeelder Cannahawk lines, these 2 lines are similar to each other. You will notice that we're gonna be going through similar process throughout the combo. Just that the cards that we search and the cards that we play are different for each of the lines, but it's really useful to know the sort of like the flow of the combo, if you wanna call it. And for these 2, it's basically the same. So pay attention when you're performing one of the combos, and it will help you a lot learn the other one. So let's get started with our Spiritual Beast, E-Lara, and Cannahawk Combo. Alright, let's get started with the combo. Now, the first step, we're gonna use Lara effect in hand to normal summon Cannahawk. Remember, we're using Lara effect in hand, so we still haven't used normal summon. We're gonna use Cannahawk effect, and with it, we're gonna banish another copy of Lara, or new Lara. When she's banished, she's gonna activate her effect to special summon or the OG Lara that we had in deck. Then we're gonna use Lara in the field and Cannahawk, and what we need to keep in mind is that Cannahawk was a normal summon, it hadn't been a special yet, it was normal from their hand. For an ulti-cannahawk. Using ulti-cannahawk effect, we're gonna target both Laras here. Now, important point here is that we are not gonna defuse. And the whole objective we're trying to get to is to have Eeelder in hand together with the monster that we do on normal summon at the very start. Let me show you what I mean. So we're gonna target both Laras, send them back into the graveyard, and add. And I remember last time I mentioned, the last time I showcased this combo, I mentioned this. We're gonna end up adding Eeelder and Rampengu in hand. So you start adding whichever you don't have, and if you don't have either, you add Rampengu. So 99% of the time, you know, if you don't have Eeelder, you're gonna be adding Rampengu to your hand, okay? So we're gonna start adding Rampengu to hand. Now remember the well, these Laras are in they're OCG Laras, but they have the similar name as our Winda, and Winda is called a Spiritual Beast Tamer. Because of this, Winda is able to count as a Spiritual Beast and a Ritual Beast Tamer. Alright? The same thing applies for a Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara. So we can use both Laras. One of them is going to be serving the purpose of the Tamer, the other one is going to be serving the purpose of the Spiritual Beast. And banish them both to special summon a copy of Ulti-Notion Dragon. Now with Ulti-Notion in the field, now we have the perfect scenario to defuse or Ritual Beast ulti-cannahawk. We want to be defusing it into both copies of Spiritual Beast E-Lara. The reason behind why we can do that is because in the text of all the Ritual Beast monsters, you will notice towards the last line there where we have the restriction for the special summoning, there is an S right there. That means that you can special summon more than one copy of the same one at the same time. And remember, one of them is serving the purpose of the Spiritual Beast and the other one is serving the purpose of the Tamer. So we defuse our Cannahawk, use both monsters again, and this time we're gonna fuse again for ulti-cannahawk. Keep in mind again, this Cannahawk hasn't been a special summon yet. We wanna use ulti-cannahawk effect. I wanna send both Laras into the graveyard. I wanna search the deck for our Eeelder. Now this part of the combo, up to now, it can be taken like a sort of like checkpoint, if you wanna call it. And in this board state, we're gonna actually be from here forward, the combo is gonna keep going, obviously, but this is a good point to learn the combo. If you try to learn this combo, if you wanna learn it by pieces, this is a good sort of like piece one of the combo. Another thing to keep in mind is that similar to before, for the most part, we're gonna be utilizing this part of our board, and these two spots are gonna, for the most part, remain empty. Okay, so this ulti-Notion Dragon is gonna be here until almost the very end of the combo. So we have a Tamer, and we have an Eeelder and a Rampengu hand. We haven't special summon yet. So we're gonna normal summon Eeelder, normal summon Rampengu, and we're gonna use Rampengu effect. With it, we're gonna banish a copy of ulti-cannahawk. To send to the graveyard a copy of our Spiritual Beast Tamer Winda. Then we're gonna fuse our Eeelder and our Rampengu into a second ulti-cannahawk. Alright, so now we're gonna use ulti-cannahawk effect. And important here, just an important rule of thumb, And this is gonna be like all rule of thumbs. It's not gonna always be the case, but if you're in a high pressure situation, if you are game 3, there is 2 minutes in the clock, you need to perform your full combo. An important way to go about targeting monsters in the extra deck is to normally go ulti monsters, tamers, and then spiritual beasts. Now, this is, as I mentioned, a rule of thumb. It's not gonna always be the case, but if you don't recall the combo at the moment, many of these combos are very long, so it's difficult to keep all of them in mind for what is 10 rounds or even more if you are in a bigger event like a YCS. So if you are in a moment, forget the combo. At any moment, under pressure, it doesn't come to mind. It's a safe bet to go ulti monsters, tamers, and spiritual beasts. Alright? If there is less monsters here, it's normally a safe bet to target the one you have more than one copy, but in this case we're not doing that because Cannahawk and Rampengu have not been special summoned yet. So we want to keep both of them banished. We want to keep one of them banished. And we're going to change the effect to the fuse with ulti-cannahawk, targeting Cannahawk and targeting Eeelder. So we're leaving Rampengu banished in this case. So when special summon to the field Cannahawk, when special summon Eeelder, and Falco is gonna go into the graveyard, allowing us to search for a copy of Zefra Pilica. Now Cannahawk can activate its effect, and we're gonna banish our spiritual beast Apelio. Now there's a monster in the graveyard that haven't been special summoned yet, or Winda, that we put there with the effect of our Falco. So we want to use our Eeelder, and we want to use our Cannahawk to link into a Falco. We're going to use Falco effect. We want to banish our copy of Ritual Beast Tamer Lara. The reason why we do Lara here is because we're going to revive Winda. We want to have our Spiritual Beast Tamers Laras in the graveyard. And if we have to, we notice we don't have a Tamer yet banished. And then the options that we have, if we're going to use these three, the options that we have is Lara or Eeelder. And Lara has higher defense, no? So we prefer Lara over Eeelder because of that. So in the opponent's turn, we have to bring monsters back. Lara is normally the best option on the field with a 2000 defense. Hopefully it can withstand the battle phase, no? Anyway, we're gonna normal summon Zefra Pilica. Zefra Pilica effect with a special summon Winda from the grave. I wanna put Winda in this side of the board. Remember, this is side we don't touch until later. And now we're gonna use Zefra Pilica and Cannahawk for fusion, summoning, or ulti-cannahawk. Then we're gonna use Cannahawk effect, and we're gonna target here, and now we're gonna bring back our Rampengu. So we're gonna target to return to the graveyard, or Lara, and or Zefra Pilica. And then we're gonna change the effect to the fuse by targeting our Rampengu. And remember, Zefra Pilica was just normal summon from the hand, so she can come back. She hasn't been special yet. Lara goes into the graveyard, and we search our deck for a copy of Ritual Beast Steeds. Now this moment is something interesting. We don't really have a need to send anything else to the graveyard with Rampengu. The reason here is that in the extra deck, most extra decks don't play ulti Pettlephin. So we won't be putting Pettlephin in circulation here. And if you're like me, if you my current list, I'm playing only 2 Cannahawks. You do not want to send your last Cannahawk into the grave. You don't want to banish your last Cannahawk, no? And remember, earlier in the combo, we banish, we sent to the graveyard a Falco, no? There's something to keep in mind. We could, if you play 3 Cannahawks, the play here would be to use Rampengu effect, banish your second Cannahawk, and send Cannahawk to the graveyard just so you have more monsters in circulation, just in case something happened to the first copy of Cannahawk, no? But in this case, I'm not gonna use Rampengu effect because of that. I also only play 1 Apelio, so the ulti Apelio here won't be able to send anything, no? Another play you could try is that maybe you could banish ulti-guy Apelio, but we don't really have the need for it, since we're gonna end up getting pretty much all the rest of the pieces we have, and ulti-guy Apelio has it's a good resource to have in the extra deck that we could use in the end board that we constructed. So in this case, in this scenario, we're gonna just leave it as it is. Alright, so now we can continue with the combo. We can use a Zefra Pilica, or Rampengu, and or Kimurfalco. Something interesting here is that Zefra Pilica is gonna be going to our extra deck, which is actually pretty good, because that way in the next turns we have Rampengu live, we can send something else to the graveyard, like another spiritual beast, E-Lara, you know, and that will be very useful. But yeah, we're gonna use these 3 monsters for our ulti-ray Rautari. And ulti-ray effect is gonna add Cannahawk to the hand. And remember earlier I mentioned we don't want to send anything to the graveyard. The card we didn't want to send was Wen. And the reason behind that is because now we're gonna normal summon Cannahawk and banish her instead. So if we send it with Rampengu, she will be in the graveyard and we have no access to her. Now we banish Wen. Now we have something interesting here. You could, theoretically, you could end the combo here and use these 2 monsters to make a rank 4 and go for that line, no? We can do a little bit more if we want to end up in a second Steeds, because as you can see here, we have a Spiritual Beast and a Tamer that has not been a special summon yet. So we're gonna fuse into ulti-cannahawk. Gonna use ulti-cannahawk effect. Gonna target Orwen. Wanna target or ulti-cannahawk. I want to change the effect to the fuse, targeting Apelio and targeting Wen. Store summon into the field. Cannahawk goes into the graveyard, and we can search our deck. And in this case, we could search for follow-up if we only play 1 Steeds, or we could search for a second Steeds here. And at last, we could use Apelio effect. And Apelio here could banish or properly summon Kimurfalco. And the reason why this is important is because if we end up with this board, if we want to end up like this, you know, we could use these 2 to make another monster, or we could use all 3, no? But if we want to end up with a board like this, Apelio can banish another monster, and then Ultinochi can go into Kimurfalco, and Kimurfalco could go into 2, no? So that way we get the maximum value out of our Steeds. So that's something to keep in mind. But in this scenario, another board that we can do is that after Apelio banish that, we could use these 2 monsters. We could even go for a tier copy of Steeds. If we play it, we can return to more. We could go for bones or any other sort of follow-up, no? Now, something to keep in mind if you are doing this is that I play only 2 ulti-cannahawk, as I mentioned earlier. So you will end up with an ulti-cannahawk on the field that you cannot defuse, which is very dangerous. Because if you get nip, if the opponent use maybe a fake of killing in your end phase, you have no way to defuse this Cannahawk. And it basically, once you Cannahawk as out of circulation, your resource loop gets very weak. It becomes harder to go ahead and be able to keep playing past turn 3, no? So just something to keep in mind. What I personally like to do is that I like to use another thing you can do, by the way, before I mention my preferred lines, that we could use these 3 monsters to go into our ulti guy Apelio. The cool thing here is that we have 2 searchers, no? So we could put 2 negates with these cards in hand, and this is a line that you want to do if you open Steeds in hand. You will be searching follow-up here, maybe a Spiritual Beast E-Lara, and some maybe like an additional Eeelder or something of that sort, and those monsters could be converted into negates, no? That's something to keep in mind. Apart from that, the other option we have is that we can use these monsters as materials for an IP. In this case, Cannahawk still engraved. And IP can be used later on with Ultinoshi to special summon SP, no? And remember, Ultinoshi here in this scenario can still float into Winda, right? Or into Kimufalco, but you know, Winda has the floating effect and we don't have enough materials to defuse or Kimufalco, so good to keep in mind. Something quick I want to mention here is that if you activate the Rampengu effect a second time and you banish Ulti-Guy Apelio, you will have enough materials to go ahead and defuse Ultinoshi into ulti-Kimufalco and ulti-Kimufalco into two different monsters in your opponent's turn. So just try to keep in mind, and here's what you can do with that. So another option we have is that we could use these monsters to go for an IP. And summoning IP. And then in the opponent's turn, we can go ahead and use Ultinoshi, return it to the extra deck, to bring back Kimufalco, to return to the extra deck, to bring back Winda, and bring Cannahawk. You can use these two monsters to go into an Spirito Knight, or you could use all three of them. Oops, this goes over here. To go into an Appaloosa that will have 3 negates. Right, let's go with the next line. We have our Spiritual Beast E-Lara and Rampengu. As I mentioned before, this line has a lot of similarities to the Lara, to the new Lara Cannahawk line. That we're gonna see. We're gonna notice some of the plays are slightly different, but most of the things, most of the process that we're following, most of the thinking is basically the same. Most of the idea, sorry, is basically the same. So we're gonna start with Lara effect. Do normal summon Rampengu. Use Rampengu effect here. I'm gonna banish Kimufalco to send to our graveyard a copy of Spiritual Beast E-Lara. Now with both Laras engraved, remember she's a Spiritual Beast Tamer. That means that she counts as a Spiritual Beast and as a Ritual Beast Tamer. We're gonna use them for fusion material for the fusion of our Ulti No Show Dragon. Now we're gonna follow the same pattern that we did with the previous combo. This side of the board we're gonna leave it untouched for the most part, and this side of the board is where we're gonna do our combo or processing. And this helps lessen the mental load you have. You know, you have these 4 fields in here to work with, and these fields we're gonna leave intact. Now we banish one of our Laras, so we're gonna special summon from our deck a copy of Ritual Beast E-Lara. Now we have Rampengu and Lara in the field. We can fuse into our ulti-Cannahawk. And now we're gonna use ulti-Cannahawk effect. We're gonna target our ulti-Kimufalco. And remember what I mentioned earlier in the other combo. All the Ritual Beast monsters has the clause at the end that limit how often they can be special summoned. That clause has an S in there. That means that you can special summon more than one copy at the same time. And remember, this is a Spiritual Beast Tamer, so she can count as both copies. So we target Kimufalco, we target one of the two Spiritual Beast Laras. We're gonna change the effect to defuse, and we're gonna defuse into both Laras. One of them is gonna be our Ritual Beast Tamer, and the other one is gonna be Spiritual Beast. Kimufalco goes into the graveyard, and we search. Now you recall earlier when we were searching from the deck, we were in the objective of having Eeelder and Cannahawk in hand. Remember what I mentioned earlier, if you already have the Spiritual Beast monster, you search the Tamer. If you don't have either, it's normally good practice to search your Cannahawk, because if you get interrupted, if you get nipped, something happen, Cannahawk can still be normal summon and banish something, so you still have something at least. Another scenario is that you have Eeelder in hand, and you have all the Ritual Beast monster you can fuse with. You can normal summon them both, and then you can play around the opponent's interruptions that way, you know? So just to keep in mind which one of the two you search first. Regardless of which one you do, you want to end up with both in hand. In this case, I'm gonna search Cannahawk first. We send Cannahawk into graveyard to do that, and we're gonna use our E-Laras again to fuse once more into ulti-cannahawk. This time, ulti-cannahawk in the field. I'm gonna send back to the graveyard both of our E-Laras. I'm gonna search for the other half. We're gonna search in this case for Eeelder. Alright, so now we're gonna continue, and remember, if you notice this combo is getting very close to how our Cannahawk Spiritual Beast E-Lara combo was. They're very similar. Important difference we have to keep in mind, but if you're learning them, try to learn them together and keep the differences in mind. That way you have to be learning two combos. You can learn a single combo and just use the cards a little bit different. We haven't normal summon yet. Remember, we started with the extra normal summon by the E-Lara gave us. So we're gonna normal summon Eeelder, which allows us to normal summon Cannahawk. Cannahawk is gonna banish Winda. If you recall in the previous combo, Rampengu sent Winda to the graveyard. We're banishing Winda now. I remember I mentioned in the previous combo too, we keep in mind the steps that we have done, the steps that we wanna go through, sorry. And in this case, we wanna use Cannahawk and Eeelder. We have a banished Winda, she's not in the grave. So we wanna fuse into ulti-cannahawk. Alright, so now we're gonna use Cannahawk effect, and we're gonna change the effect to the fuse. When we use the Cannahawk effect, here we're gonna be targeting E-Lara, and we're gonna be targeting Eeelder. And we're gonna change the effect to the fuse, and we're gonna be targeting Eeelder here. Remember, Eeelder haven't been a special summon yet. Neither has been Cannahawk, Rampengu, or Winda. So we're gonna be targeting Eeelder, and we're gonna be targeting Cannahawk. We're gonna defuse. You will notice at this point that the combo is pretty much the same when you get to this moment. So we special summon Cannahawk Eeelder. You remember Eeelder earlier, sorry. When we defuse, when we normal summon Eeelder and we normal summon Rampengu, we use the effect, we send Winda to the graveyard, and we fuse and we defuse into the same thing, Eeelder Cannahawk. Winda is in this case banished, it's not in the graveyard, so that's a difference between the two combos. But if you're trying to learn the combos, remember that they're very similar at this point. Winda is banished, and we are not sending Lara back into the graveyard. And now Lara is in the graveyard. We can search to our hand a copy, since Winda is banished this time, of When. It's very important. I want to use Cannahawk effect here to send a copy of Spiritual Beast Apelio. Banish it. And then we can use our ulti-cannahawk and use our Eeelder as link materials for summoning our ulti Cannahawk. So we're gonna use Cannahawk effect here. Remember, we have basically two options here. We have both for Laras here that we're gonna leave in the grave. We can banish Eeelder or we can banish Lara. Lara has higher defense, so we're gonna banish her. Both of them have been a special summon, by the way. Now we're banishing something with Cannahawk. We pay the cost to summon When into the field. When it's gonna special summon or banish Winda. And we're gonna use our Cannahawk. We're gonna summon her to the south of the field that we're not gonna be utilizing until the very end of the combo. Now we can use When and Cannahawk. Remember, When was normal summon from the hand. Rampengu and Apelio have not been a special summon yet. We're gonna summon a Cannahawk. We're gonna use Cannahawk effect to search. We're gonna target here both our Tamers, or Lara, and or When. And we're gonna change the effect to defuse, targeting Rampengu and targeting or When. When and Rampengu are gonna go into the field, and Lara is gonna go into the graveyard, allowing us to search for a copy of Steeds. Now, important thing to mention here. Different from the previous combo, if you count the cards that we have in this step in the banish zone, we only have 2. In the previous combo, we will have 3. So a very important point here is that different from the previous combo, different from starting Spiritual Beast E-Lara Cannahawk. For Spiritual Beast E-Lara, for Lara and Rampengu, for that combo, we do need to use Rampengu effect when we summon him back. The reason behind that is that otherwise we don't have enough monsters to be able to defuse Kimufalco into 2 monsters at the very end of the combo. So in this case, you can start making decisions about your Ember in this moment. If you don't care about being able to defuse Kimufalco, you don't use the effect. And I'm only talking about this because I play 2 copies of ulti-cannahawk. Okay? If you play 3 copies of ulti-cannahawk, don't worry about it. Just use Rampengu effect, banish the third ulti-cannahawk, send Cannahawk into the graveyard, and you're good to go. If you play 2 copies of ulti-cannahawk, like I do, the option we have is that we can banish or ulti Apelio from the extra deck to send a Psyche into the graveyard. And the important thing here is that the ulti Apelio will be banished and we have that extra material banished at the very end of the combo. So very important step. In this case, let's say I don't want to end my combo in ulti Apelio. So I'm gonna banish my ulti Apelio so I have a way to defuse into Kimufalco. So just keep that in mind. If you're planning to end your combo with ulti Apelio in the field, you do not want to banish ulti Apelio here because most of the time you're gonna be playing 1 copy of ulti Apelio and 2 copies of ulti Kimufalco like I do. So just keep that in mind. In this case, I'm gonna banish my ulti Apelio. We can go back and change the combo line and showcase the combo line differently. But the only thing that changed is at the very end, you cannot defuse your ulti Kimufalco, okay? So in this case, I'm gonna banish my ulti Apelio to send to the graveyard, and we can send basically any psychic here. And normally we'll send the last copy of Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara, which I don't happen to have in this. I have half of the deck here just to be able to search through it faster. So I'm gonna grab the 3rd copy from the other half of the deck that I have in the deck box. So here I will normally send to the graveyard a 3rd copy of Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara, and we just continue with our combo. Remember, we're utilizing this part of the board. So we just summon back Rampengu and Wen, Apelio Spanish. So now we're gonna use or Wen or Rampengu and or ulti Kimufalco to go into our ulti Rey Rautare. With ulti Rey on the field, we wanna use the effect of ulti Rey to add Cannahawk to our hand, and we're gonna summon Cannahawk. We're gonna use Cannahawk effect, and we're gonna banish Zefra this time. And now we're gonna utilize Winda. And Cannahawk, one thing here is that you can always overlay this. If you wanna end in this Ember, we can always overlay this for a Baguska or a Dweller, and that could be our Ember if you wanna end up in a rank 4 too, no? But in this case, I'm gonna use them both for a fusion summon. And I'm gonna be summoning our ulti-cannahawk. Now I'm gonna use our Cannahawk, targeting our ulti Apelio and our Zefra. I'm gonna change the effect to defuse, targeting our Zefra and our Apelio. The summon into the field. Ulti Apelio will go into the graveyard, and we search our deck. And this is useful. Remember, if you play a 2nd copy of Steeds, you wanna search that. If not, you can search other cards like Bone if you wanna be able to dodge effects, or another follow-up card like Rito Beast Tamer. Scale said we search a 2nd copy of Steeds. Now to keep in mind also, when you send Ritual Beast monster with Apelio, you're sending the 3rd copy of Lara in this case, so you won't be able to add that to the hand. So if you were planning to add Lara to the hand as a follow-up plan, you have to keep that in mind. Because you could also send another copy of something like Eeelder instead, no? Something to keep in mind. Now with the 2 Steeds in hand, we can use a Apelio effect, and now comes into play what I mentioned earlier. We have to properly summon ulti Kimufalco, and we want to banish it. Now this is basically the elements that we have to use for our Ember. You can use Zefra and Apelio. And in this case, Zefra will be going to the extra deck, face up. For or IP Mascarena. And then the opponent's turn, because we used the effect of Rampengu earlier, now we can go into Kimufalco, and Kimufalco can tag into Winda and Cannahawk. So very, very important to remember this. That's the reason why we are able to do this. Otherwise, we won't have enough materials to go for that play. And the other detail here is that, let's say we don't use Rampengu effect earlier. So ulti-Apelio will still be here. And we will have one of our Laras will still be in the deck. And I believe at the end of the combo we have Apelio's options to banish. And let's say we banish Kimufalco, we leave Cannahawk in the grave. So we have something like this instead. And then we can use these 3 monsters to go into ulti-Apelio. You see, it's a different situation. We know with 2 Steeds in hand, so that's why it's good to know where you're going, and it's so important to know these combos because it's very easy to make small mistakes that can cost you again if you don't know exactly the extent of what you're going for and what the endboard that you're shooting for is. Alright, so the next combo I'm going to showcase is the Spirit of Wisdom E-Lara and the Apelio combo. Now this combo, if there is a combo that is very, very niche in this video, is this one. Because this specific line that I'm going to showcase requires us to play a full playset of ulti-cannahawk. And towards the very end of the combo, we have the option to get another search from the deck, but we need Pettlephin. We need to be playing Pettlephin to do that. If not, we can still end up in a pretty good endboard. But I just wanted to mention that. Alright, so let's get started. We're gonna use a Lara effect in hand to normal summon Apelio. Then we're gonna use Apelio effect to banish Lara. With Lara banish, we're gonna special summon from our deck or Ritual Beast Tamer Lara, the OG Lara. And now we're gonna use Apelio and Lara to fuse into ulti-cannahawk. With ulti-cannahawk in the field, we're going to use the effect to search, targeting both Laras. And we're going to chain the effect to the fuse, targeting the Lara I haven't been special summon yet, the new Lara, and Apelio. Both are summoned to the field. Lara goes into the graveyard, and we search. In this case, we're trying to achieve the same objective that we were doing when we started the Spirit of Wisdom E-Lara Rampengu Combo and the Spirit of Wisdom E-Lara Cannahawk Combo, and that is to have Eeelder in hand with Rampengu or with Cannahawk, depending on what the starter was. In this case, we're gonna have Eeelder in hand with Rampengu. And similar to what I mentioned before, if you already has a Spiritual Beast in hand, you probably want to search Eeelder first. If you don't, you will want to search Rampengu first. So we're gonna add Rampengu here. Next step is to use Apelio effect to banish Lara again. I'm gonna use Apelio and or Spirit of Beast Lara for another copy of ulti-cannahawk. Using ulti-cannahawk effect, we're gonna return both of them, Apelio and the new Lara, into the grave to search our deck for the other part of the puzzle that we don't have. No? So we search Rampengu first, so now we search Eeelder in this case. Now, similar to the combos before this one, here is sort of like the checkpoint at the middle of the combo that you can use for practicing. You know, if you want to practice a combo by pieces, this is a good stopping point before you think further into the second end of the combo. Now, something interesting about this combo is that at this moment, you could use Apelio and Spirit of Wisdom E-Lara in grave to summon Ulti-Noche Dragon, because Ulti-Noche Dragon is not required for the combo at all. You're not gonna summon Ulti-Noche Dragon until the very end of the combo, and at that point it's just gonna be an additional part of the endboard, no? So it's a couple of school of thoughts here. You could think, okay, I'm gonna summon Ulti-Noche Dragon, so I cannot target my Rampengu when I normal summon it. Or You can wait to summon Ulti-Noshi Dragon just in case your opponent is waiting with a Nibiru in hand. So you can go ahead and use Ulti-Noshi later in the combo to still have something in the field after you get Nib, no? So that's something you can think about. Also, if you use Ulti-Noshi Dragon, you will be banishing your Spiritual Beast E-Lara. So it's something to keep in mind. You know, if the opponent have, you're playing against like a Fire King deck, you can have Kirin in hand, you won't be able to do the protection with Lara. So just something to keep in mind. And normally I like to wait until I have Eeelder in grave, and then I like to banish Eeelder and Apelio right away to summon Ulti-Noshi. But just something to keep in mind, this combo you can summon Ulti-Noshi later on if you please. Now let's continue with the combo. We normal summon Eeelder, normal summon Rampengu, using Rampengu effect. Gonna banish ulti-cannahawk to send to the graveyard a copy of Spiritual Beast Cannahawk. And we're gonna use Eeelder and Rampengu, and this is what I was mentioning earlier. We're gonna summon our third copy of ulti-cannahawk. And that's the reason why you need 3 copies, because you're gonna have one in the field, you're gonna have one banished, and you're gonna need a tier 1 that you can summon at this instant. Now with ulti-cannahawk, we're gonna be targeting our Eeelder and targeting our ulti-cannahawk that is banished. I'm gonna change the effect to the fuse, and by the way, this is just the tier ulti-cannahawk in this asleep because I'm currently only playing 2. So for the fusing, we're gonna target our Rampengu and our Eeelder, special summon both them. Ulti-cannahawk goes to grave, and we search for deck for a copy of Zefra and Pilka. Now we use Rampengu effect, and we're gonna be banishing a copy of ulti-cannahawk to send to the graveyard a copy of Winda. And we're gonna use our Eeelder and our Cannahawk on the field as link materials. For our ulti-cannahawk. Now at this point, before using ulti-cannahawk effect, we can banish. In this case, we could banish or Winda, and we can banish or Apelio to summon ulti-Noshi Dragon. And with ulti-Noshi in the field, we can use Cannahawk effect to banish from our graveyard. And here we have some options. I like to leave a tamer, and in this case our Spiritual Beast E-Lara is working as the Spiritual Beast in the grave, so I'm gonna banish one ulti-cannahawk instead. To banish ulti-cannahawk, to normal summon Zefra Pilka. Zefra Pilka is gonna special summon Cannahawk, and Cannahawk gonna use this effect. Now, this is the part of the combo where I mentioned earlier that if you play Pettlephin, you can extend the combo a little bit further that you don't. So if you play Pettlephin, here's where you want to banish Pettlephin. If not, you want to banish any other monster that you have. It could even be the copy of Winda is missing. So that's the only monster that we haven't put in circulation at this point. So just something to keep in mind, I'm going to banish Pettlephin here instead. So banish Pettlephin, and with Pettlephin banish, I'm gonna use Zefra Pilka. I'm gonna use my Cannahawk. Something interesting here, sorry, before we move forward, is that Zefra Pilka here is reviving Cannahawk, and I know with the other combos, the different here is that you used to revive Winda. So just so you know, it's a different error because we wanna have Pettlephin banish earlier. But if we go for the early ulti-Noshi, like I'm doing here, you could also bring by Winda instead, so just some variabilities there with the combo. So, but now I can use Zefra Pilka and Cannahawk, banish them both. to bring back Little Bits ulti-cannahawk. Using ulti-cannahawk effect, we're gonna target the Kimur Falco that is currently banished. Remember, Zefra was just summoned from the hand, and Winda was sent to the graveyard early by Rampengu, having been a special summon yet. So we're gonna target these two to special summon. Kimur Falco goes into the graveyard. And we search our deck, this time for a copy of Steeds. And we can put the Winda over here. Remember, we're gonna keep this part of the board as clear part of the board, and this is the part we were working on. No? So now we're gonna use our Rampengu, Zefra, and Kimur Falco, all three of them, to go into our ulti raid routare. Now this also has other implications in which it banishes Zefra, which is good because that way we can use Rampengu later on to send another tamer to the graveyard while banishing our Zefra from the extra deck. With ulti raid, now we're gonna add Cannahawk to the hand, and we're gonna normal summon Cannahawk. Now I just wanna make a caveat here. If you were not playing Pettlephin, instead, what you can do is that you can add Lara to the hand, normal summon Lara, and bring back Kimur Falco. So this is an alternative that you have to keep in mind. You can do this, and this will be the cards that you use for your rain board. Or you can also add the Cannahawk to the hand, normal summon Cannahawk, and there is exactly one Little Beast monster left in our deck, no? I should know that we have gone through every single name except for Winda. So this combo is very, very efficient. Now we went banish, we can use our Cannahawk and Winda on the field to bring back our third copy of ulti-cannahawk. Using ulti-cannahawk effect, we can target, and something you want to keep in mind is that we have Rampengu and Eeelder in the grave, so we already have the material for ulti-noche next turn. So we're gonna end up targeting our ulti-cannahawk and targeting our Winda, and we're gonna change the effect to the fuse, targeting our Pettlephin and targeting our Winda. So these two are gonna come to the field. Ulti-cannahawk goes into the graveyard, and we search our deck. And here you only play one copy of Steeds. You can search something like Bones, or you can search Follow, maybe additional copies of Lara or Eeelder, depending on your hand. Or you could search, if you play the second copy of Steeds, you will search the second copy of Steeds. You can see how many resources we went through. Basically, obviously this is not the whole deck, but from the cards that I sampled, the only Little Beast card that we haven't used is Bones. So it's crazy. I goes to so many resources, but the combo is very efficient because of that. Now we have some options about our rainbow. We could go, although I wouldn't recommend it, Pettlephin and Winda again to bring back ulti-cannahawk. The reason why I don't like this play, we could send them back, add another card to our hand, in case you play a playset of Steeds, you could do that. But I don't like this play because you have your last ulti-cannahawk in the field without the ability to defuse it, which is very risky. If you get nip here, you basically just lose the game. If ulti-cannahawk, if you get destroyed on the field, your whole recovery game later in the game, you know, when turn 3 comes around, is severely hindered. So just keep that in mind. So you can do this, bring 2 monsters back, search another copy of Steeds. You play a place, it's not another card for follow-up. So another thing we can do here, we can use all these 3 monsters. Remember, we have 2 Steeds in hand in this case, but if we already has a Steed in hand, or we have a lot of Little Beasts in hand, we could use this for ulti Guy Apelio, and then we have 2 search negates plus whatever we have in hand. No? So something else to keep in mind. Another thing we can do here is that we can use our Pettlephin and use our Winda for a copy of IP. Something very interesting here is that in the opponent's turn, Ultinoshi could be defused into Apelio, and Apelio can banish or Spiritual Beast Lara, and she can special summon from our deck any Ritual Beast. And with that, let's say in this case, we special summon another copy of Lara, just we have a protection in circulation. In that case, we will have 4 materials here to make an Appaloosa. So something to keep in mind. Or we can use our Lara, just put her in the graveyard with the IP to, instead of making a Appaloosa, go for an SP. So some ideas that we can keep in mind when we are playing the deck. Multiple different embors. If you play Pettlephin, this combo utilize it. But remember, to perform this combo at all, you need to play a whole playset of Cannahawk. And this is the only combo that require a whole playset of Cannahawk. So keep that in mind.
Who are you?
I'm you from the future.
Alright, so now we're gonna use the Spiritual System Lara plus any of these 4 monsters in here. It could be Zefra, Filica, Wen, Lara, or Winda. So it will be a Lara, a new Lara, plus any of these 4. Now we have specific combos already. We already showed a specific combo for Eeelder, Cannahawk, and Rampengu. And also we show a combo for Apelio, but that combo require you to play 3 ulti-cannahawks in the extra deck. So just keep that in mind. Let's start our combo line. This is a combo line Swiss kicking off with, and the cool thing about it, what I really like about this combo line, is that you're not required to play Pettlephin. I remember in my previous video, the combo was a Spiritual Beast Lara plus Winda or Pettlephin, and you needed Pettlephin. Now, while we're not playing Pettlephin, we are required to play a Ulti Apelio. So that's something to keep in mind. This is one of the combo lists that require you to have Ulti Apelio in the extra deck. So, and depending on how you build your deck list, you might need to alter your combo or come up with a different combo line than this one. Alright, so let's get started. We're gonna use Lara effect to normal summon Winda, and now we're gonna fuse both them into a copy of Ulti No Show Dragon. Now with Lara Banish, we're gonna use her effect to summon to our field a copy of Cannahawk. We're gonna use Cannahawk effect, banishing a second copy of a Spiritual Beast Lara. Now we're gonna use our Ultinoshi to tag out back into Winda. I'm gonna use Winda and Cannahawk to fuse once more, this time into ulti-cannahawk. Now use ulti-cannahawk effect here. I'm gonna be targeting our Cannahawk, and I'm gonna be targeting one of the 2 Spiritual Beast Laras we have. I'm gonna change the effect to a fuse, and remember what I mentioned earlier, because of the clouds that all the Ritual Beast monsters have at the bottom of the text where there's the restriction. There is a tiny S in there. You're allowed to special summon more one of them at the same time. And I know these are OCG copies of Lara, but they have the text that they are Spiritual Beast Tamers, similar to the text that Winda have right here. So it counts as a Spiritual Beast and a Ritual Beast Tamer. When we tag out, we are able to special summon 2 Laras. Cannahawk goes into the grave, and we search our deck. Now, similar to the combo we presented earlier, we're gonna be searching for, at the end, a copy of Eeelder and a copy of Rampengu. Now this is a trend with all the Spiritual Beasts Tamer Lara combos. You always end up in this, you wanna follow the thought of trying to have Eeelder and trying to have Spiritual Beast Rampengu, or unless you started Lara Rampengu Cannahawk, no? It's gonna be always Eeelder Rampengu hand the objectives, except for when you start Lara Rampengu, then you wanna have Eeelder and Cannahawk in hand. And that's the important checkpoint, the important point that we mentioned at the middle of the combo, no? If you don't have any in hand, you search Rampengu. If you have already a Spiritual Beast in hand, you search Eeelder first. So, when I search Rampengu, again, she's her Spiritual Beast tamer, so she counts as the Spiritual Beast and as the Ritual Beast tamer. So we can fuse with 2 copies of her into Cannahawk. I'm gonna use Cannahawk effect, send both them to the grave, to search your deck for a copy of Eeelder. Now we reach that checkpoint that we mentioned earlier in the middle of our combo. Alright, now with Cannahawk and Rampengu in hand, we're gonna normal summon Eeelder. With Eeelder and Rampengu in hand, we're gonna normal summon Eeelder. Use the additional normal summon Rampengu, use the Rampengu effect. We're gonna end up banishing our Falco. And here, if we started with any of the other monsters, if we started with Zefra, Lara, or Wen, here we will have sent to the graveyard Winda. But because we started with Winda, we're gonna send to the graveyard. The one that we cannot send to the graveyard is Lara. Well, if we send Lara to the graveyard, we can search Zefra, but so the one that we want to send to the graveyard, if we start with Wen, if we start with Winda, it's gonna be Wen. Just something to keep in mind. Alright, now we're gonna use our Eeelder and Rampengu on the field to fuse for a second copy of ulti-cannahawk. Now we're gonna use ulti-cannahawk effect, and I'm gonna be targeting here my Falco and my Eeelder that are banished. I'm gonna change the effect to the fuse, targeting Eeelder and Rampengu. These two are summoned to the field. Falco is sent to the graveyard, and we search our deck. Here we're looking for a copy of Lara. Now we use Rampengu, and this is the part where the ulti-Apelio comes in handy. So we can banish ulti-Apelio to send to the graveyard a copy of Apelio. So now we're gonna use our Eeelder and our Cannahawk on the field to special summon Falco. Falco on the field, we're gonna use the effect. It's important here, we're gonna banish Apelio. It's an important thing to keep in mind. Banishing Rampengu here. We're gonna normal summon Lara. And remember what I mentioned earlier, we started the combo with Winda. So in any of the other situations, if we started a Spiritual Beast Lara and Wen or Zefra or Lara or Lara, we will be special summoning from the grave a Winda. Because we started with Winda, the monster is instead Wen. So keep that in mind, very important to remember. So we special Wen. Now I can use my Lara and my Rampengu. Remember, Lara was a normal summon from the hand. These two haven't been a special summon yet. To go into our ulti-cannahawk once more. And I'm gonna use ulti-cannahawk effect. Here we're gonna be end up targeting or ulti-Apelio and or Lara. I wanna change the effect to the fuse. Targeting or Apelio and or Lara. So these two go into the field. Apelio goes into a graveyard, and we search our deck. This time for a copy of Ritual Beast Steeds. Now we're gonna hold on using Apelio effect here. Very important. We hold on using Apelio effect, we wait. Don't use it right away. And we're gonna use Lara, Wen, and Falco. Remember, this will be Winda if it wasn't because we started with Winda. For our ulti-Ray Rautari. Now we ulti-Raid on board. Now we're gonna use Apelio effect. And we can banish the Lara that we just put there. By doing it so, ulti-Raid can add her to the hand. And she can be normal summon. And with normal summon in Lara, we are able to special summon Falco. And this will be the endboard that we have. And we have some options on what we want to do with it. We can use all 3 monsters here to fuse into ulti-guy Apelio if we have other Ritual Beast in hand. Although it's not likely because you have other Ritual Beast in hand, you probably go for a different combo like that hold a little more punch, you know, that has a little more power on it. So one of the endboards draw that you have options to make. Another option that we have is that we can utilize these two monsters, send to a graveyard, to a special summon an IP, and then in the opponent's turns we can defuse the Cannahawk into Winda and Rampengu, and the IP can help us make a copy SSP Little Knight, and we will still have available or Winda to float, or we could use all three monsters on the field for a copy of Appaloosa. So another option we have that we want to keep in mind. Bring back my Cannahawk. Let's get back Apelio and Lara. I'm not sure if I'm putting them in the right place, but there they are. Now we can also use Apelio and Lara for a copy of ulti-cannahawk. But this is, remember what I mentioned before, if you're playing two Cannahawks, it's a little risky, no? Because remember earlier, we banished one ulti-cannahawk to put Cannahawk in circulation. So this will be the last Cannahawk we have, and we have no way to defuse. So it's very risky. But if we do it this way, we could search from our deck a second copy of Steeds. So something to keep in mind. So you have multiple options on what to do with this particular endboard. Again, this combo is gonna be then Spirit of E-Lara and Pettlephin, which is a card that not everybody plays. I personally have caught it from my desk, but if you play it, this combo is for you. And we do need to play ulti Apelio in the extra deck, so just keep that in mind when performing this combo. Alright, so let's start our Spirit of E-Lara and Pettlephin combo. Gonna start by using Lara effect to summon Pettlephin for the hand. Gonna use them both for a copy of ulti no show dragon. Now by banishing Lara we trigger her effect to special summon from the deck a copy of Cannahawk. And with Cannahawk in the field we can activate his effect. We're gonna be banishing a copy of Lara. Now, the reason why we don't banish to another Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara here is because we're gonna need to special summon one since special summon one for Tamer, since we have Spiritual Beast in the field instead of Tamer. So what we're gonna do, Nochi is gonna tag out for our new Lara, and we're gonna use them both for the fusion summon of our ulti-cannahawk. Now ulti-cannahawk, we're gonna use this effect to target our old Lara and our new Lara. I'm gonna change the effect to defuse, targeting Lara, the old one, and Pettlephin. New Lara goes to the grave. We want to end up searching Rampengu and Eeelder. This is gonna be the case for all Spirit of E-Lara Lara combos except the Spirit of E-Lara combo, the new Lara Rampengu combo. If you start with this hand, then you're gonna be searching Cannahawk and Eeelder instead. So just something to keep in mind. And here we're gonna search first Rampengu. And now we can fuse once more. This time we're gonna send the monsters to a graveyard to use the effect to search. I want to be careful to leave Lara banished, okay? So we want to keep in mind. We want to send Cannahawk and Pettlephin to a grave to search a copy of Eeelder. Now we can normal summon Eeelder. Remember, this is sort of like the checkpoint in the combo. I want to keep in mind, as you're practicing the combo, this is a good sort of point in between, no? But now we can normal summon Eeelder. And we can normal summon Rampengu and use Rampengu effect to banish Cannahawk. And this will allow us to send to the graveyard a copy of Winda. Then we're gonna fuse into a second copy of ulti-cannahawk. I'm gonna use ulti-cannahawk effect to search, targeting Orkimu Falco and targeting Eeelder. I'm gonna change the effect to the fuse, targeting on Eeelder and on Rampengu. Kimu Falco goes into the grave, and we search. In this case, for a copy of Zefra Pilica. I'm gonna use Rampengu effect, and again, the important thing here is that we are gonna be playing or ulti Apelio. Because we're playing ulti Apelio, we can use Rampengu to send to the graveyard a copy of Apelio. So something interesting when you play ulti Apelio is that you lower the ability to perform combos with certain 2-card hand combinations, but at the same time you increase the consistency. You increase the versatility of your extra deck, no? Those have to keep in mind. Now, the familiar place that we have seen ourselves in previous Spirit of Beast and E-Lara combos, we can use our Eeelder and Cannahawk to summon our Kimu Falco. I use Kimu Falco here to banish or copy of Apelio. It will allow us to normal summon Zefra Pilica. Remember, Apelio and Winda were sent to the graveyard by the effect of Rampengu. They haven't been special summoned yet, so we're gonna be special summoning Winda here. Now we can use Zefra Pilica and Rampengu. Remember, Zefra Pilica was normal summon from the hand to bring out ulti-cannahawk. Now we can use ulti-cannahawk effect, target ulti Apelio, and target Zefra Pilica, and change the effect to the fuse, targeting on Apelio and targeting Zefra Pilica. So these two are summoned into the field, and ulti Apelio goes back into. Oh, sorry. Ulti Apelio goes into the graveyard. That will allow us to search for our Steeds. Now we can use Apelio effect. And we can use Apelio effect. And in this case, we're gonna banish all Eeelder. It's something important you will notice why towards the end of the combo. We're gonna banish Eeelder this time. And now we can use our Apelio, Zefra Pilica, and Kimu Falco to go into our ulti-ray Rautare. Ulti-ray can use this effect to target or banish Lara. Lara is added to the hand, Lara is normal summon, and that way we can special summon or properly summon Kimu Falco. And these are the pieces we have to build the Embor. Now we can do a couple of things here. We can use our Winda, Lara, and Kimu Falco to go into our ulti Gaia Apelio. Or we also have the option to use our Lara and Winda if we want to search a second Steeds. For a second ulti-cannahawk, but remember, you are only playing 2 copies of ulti-cannahawk. This will be putting the second ulti-cannahawk you have in the board without a way to defuse, which is very risky, as I mentioned before. And you're able to return some cards to search a second copy of Steeds or some follow-up if you prefer. So you're able to also do that. And then you could use these 2 monsters if you feel like to go into an SP, no? You will not have if it's turn 1, you will have to banish something from your graveyard. But just something to keep in mind. Could use this too. Now another option that we have here is that we could use these 2 monsters, or Winda and Lara, for a copy of IP. And this is normally what I prefer to do. Remember the Eeelder earlier? Well, the Eeelder is banished. So we could use in the opponent's turn Kimu Falco to go into Rampengu and Eeelder, and now we can use IP plus Eeelder to go into SP if we want, or we could use IP, Eeelder and Rampengu to go into an Appaloosa. We prefer that. Alright, so the next combo we're gonna cover is the E-Tele Cannahawk Combo. And this is a combo that will end up in 5 interruptions. It's another one inspired by the worst Whiskey D in the deck. So yeah, let's go over it. We're gonna start with normal summoning Cannahawk. We're gonna use Cannahawk effect here to banish a copy of our spiritual beast E-Lara. Now with Lara banish, she's gonna special summon or ritual beast E-Lara. You notice part of this combo looks very similar to the combos that we perform with Cannahawk by himself. We basically are doing the same thing, just that we have E-Tele now for an extra tamer, no? Now we're gonna use Lara and Cannahawk. Special summon copy of ulti-cannahawk. Now using ulti-cannahawk effect, we want to target or both of our Laras, or spiritual E-Lara and Lara. I want to change the effect to diffuse, targeting our Cannahawk and our spiritual E-Lara. As you notice, the start of this combo is exactly the same as the Cannahawk by himself combo. So that's something you can keep in mind when you're learning the combo. For the most part, the start is exactly the same. And as we did with the Cannahawk combo, we're gonna search to our hand a copy of Wen. Now Wen in hand, we're gonna use Cannahawk effect one more time and banish our Rampengu. And now we're gonna use the E-Tele in hand. By doing it so, we're gonna special summon a copy of Zefra. Now we're gonna use Zefra and our spiritual beast E-Lara as link materials for the link summon of ulti-cannahawk. Now we're gonna use Cannahawk effect to banish a copy of Lara and normal summon or Wen. And we can use Wen effect to special summon or Rampengu into the field. And something interesting here is that we want to try to follow the same process we did with the other combos while leave these spaces open. Part of the reason why you always want to have one of the corner spaces open, or the middle one, one of the 3 that are not susceptible to anima, open. If you haven't summoned Ultinoshi, that's probably one of the spots we want to do that on. So in general, it's a really good practice. If you're practicing the deck to go ahead and put all your cards in one side and leave the 2 other space opens. You know the spaces won't be used, so kind of lessen your mental load and you are less prone to making mistakes, no? Now we're gonna use Rampengu effect, and we do have a psychic in our extra deck that we can banish. And with that, we can send to the graveyard a copy of spiritual beast tamer Winda. Now we're gonna use our Winda and just use our spiritual beast tamer Lara to fuse into our ulti no-show dragon. Alright, so now we're gonna use our Wen and our Cannahawk, a fusion materials. Remember, Wen was just normal summon from the hand, and Winda was sent to the graveyard with the effect of Rampengu, so she hadn't been a special summon yet. I'm gonna summon ulti-cannahawk, we're gonna use ulti-cannahawk effect here, and what I like to do is I like to put Lara back in the grave. So let's target our Lara and let's target our Wen. I want to change the effect to diffuse. This time targeting our Wen and targeting our Winda. Diffuse then. I'm going to put the Winda over here. We're not going to use this for now. Lara's going to go to the graveyard and we're going to search. Interesting idea here is to search for Ritual Beast Tamer Eeelder. This is probably the most important thing to remember of the whole combo. As you can see in the board, you should do things this way. Obviously, you will want the Winda. Ideally, your Winda will be in the positions that is not susceptible to anima at the end of the combo. But if you want to use her part of the end board, may as well put her here, and that way you know what the next step is right away. No, we haven't summoned Ulti Ray. We have Rampengu, Wen, and Cannahawk on the field to do that. So let's do that. Let's do just that. Summon Ulti Ray Rautari. And with Ulti Ray in the field, we can use the effect to add Cannahawk to the hand. and normal summon Eeelder. Using Eeelder effect, we can normal summon Cannahawk, and using Cannahawk effect, we can banish or Apelio. This shows the power of how good it is to have your once you have your board, you set your board and something that will help you perform the combos. It's way easier to go through the steps, you know, to know what's coming next on the combo. Now we want to use Eeelder and Cannahawk. Remember, Eeelder was normal summon from the hand, and Apelio was just banished. So we can go to ulti-cannahawk, use ulti-cannahawk effect here, and we're going to change the effect to diffuse. So something interesting is, as I mentioned before, we want to have a spiritual tamer and a spiritual beast and a tamer, and we already do that. And we have our E-Lara ready engraved, so we can send back here pretty much anything. Doesn't affect the end board doing it. So one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send back E-Lara. The reason for that is that I already have Zefra banished, so that way I have one on each, no? So Lara's going to go to grave. Eeelder and Apelio are gonna be summoned to the field once this Cannahawk diffuse. And we're gonna search our deck for a copy of Ritual Beast Steeds. Now the cool part here is that Apelio can banish a copy of ulti-cannahawk. And this is basically the components we have to make the endboard with. And we have plenty of options here actually. We can use our Apelio and our Winda to go for a rank 4, and he could go here we could go for an Abyss Dweller or a Baguska if we prefer to do so. We could also use Apelio and Eeelder to special summon ulti-cannahawk once more, and use ulti-cannahawk effect to add a second copy of Steed to the hand. In our opponent's turn, we can also use, still on our turn, we could use ulti-cannahawk and Winda to go into our IP. And in the opponent's turn, this Ultinoshi could be diffused into Cannahawk, and Cannahawk could be diffused into 2 more monsters. And if we want even more disruptions with our Steeds, this Apelio could banish E-Lara to special summon even another monster. And then we could go for a 4 material Appaloosa with the other monster that I'm saying with special summon from the deck, and this could be another, this could be Pettlephin, just for these examples. And we could go for a 4 material Appaloosa. Or we could go for an Spiritual Knight and still keep some of our resources. So a lot of options that we have here. Some other options that we have is that we can also utilize our Ultinoshi, or Eeelder, and or Apelio to fuse into our Ulti Gaia Apelio. If we have some Ritual Beast cards in hand, we could utilize it this way. We still have the Steeds, and we have 3 pops for the Steeds, we have a banish, and Ulti Gaia Apelio plus the cards in hand. No? That's another option we have in mind. Another option that we can utilize here is to use, and here is a toss-up in which one you would prefer to banish, to send to the graveyard. It could be Apelio, it could be Winda, depending on how powerful you want to make the Steeds and how much value you place on Winda's ability to float. No? I normally prefer to leave the Winda on the board, just because more often than not, Lara's protection effect is gonna come into play somewhere in the turn. No? Somewhere in the opponent's turn. So we summon IP, and then we have a similar play again. We could use Ultinoshi to float again into these 2 monsters, and we could also go into an SP at that moment, no? Or we could even go into a SP right away, and that we will say the diffusing of Ultinoshi for later. Maybe we want to use Ulti-Ray effect and change the diffuse so we don't have to banish a Ritual Beast from outside the field. So we have a lot of options with December. Next we have the E-Tele Rampengu Combo line. This one is actually very different than the E-Tele Cannahawk line, and also very different than the Rampengu started by itself. It's a very unconventional combo. You will know what I mean when we get started. So first things first, we're gonna start with normal summoning Rampengu. I'm gonna use Rampengu effect here, and the first guy we're gonna go for is gonna be our Spiritual Beast Tamer E-Lara from our deck. Send her to the graveyard, and now we're gonna use our E-Tele right away. And with this, we're gonna special summon a copy of Zefra Pilica. Something interesting with a lot of these E-Tele combos is you will notice most of the time you're gonna be using it for Zefra Pilica. The reason behind that is that Zefra Pilica has the ability that she goes to the extra decks when you are handling Rampengu. So if we ever fuse, if we're ever stopping the combo, we can go ahead and banish her, no, from the extra deck. But it's also really good practice to keep that as a mental note, Like E-Tele, part of the combo goes for Zefra Pilica, because technically in this combo in particular it will be the same thing as bringing out E-Lara, but relating in your brain the relation between these two cards can help you learn faster this combo. So we special summon Zefra Pilica, and now we use Rampengu and Zefra Pilica to go into our ulti-cannahawk. The ulti-cannahawk on board, we're gonna use this effect. We're gonna use it to send Kimu Falco and send Zefra Pilica back. I'm gonna search our deck for a copy of Free-to-Be Tamer, Lara. The OG Lara. Now we're gonna use a copy of the new Lara and Zefra Pilica in the grave to special summon or Ulti No Show Dragon. With Ulti No Show in the field, this will trigger a Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara effect. And with her effect, we want to special summon a copy of Wen. Now we can defuse our Cannahawk into our Rampengu or new Lara that haven't been a special summon. So we use just that. We do just that. And now we can use Rampengu effect once more. This time we're gonna be sending a Cannahawk for deck into the graveyard. Now we are back in familiar territory compared with the last combo. And we're gonna use, this is a small optimization in the combo. We're gonna use our Spiritual Beast Tamer E-Lara and our Rampengu. You recall the last time we leave the Rampengu on the field and we used the other monster we had on the field to make our ulti-cannahawk Falcon. This time we're gonna use the Rampengu. You're gonna notice why in just a second. Gonna special summon or ulti-cannahawk Falcon, and we're gonna use ulti-cannahawk Falcon effect. And now comes into play the Rampengu that we just put in the graveyard. Because if at any moment we get stopped, using her effect and banishing the Rampengu give us a Tamer and a Spiritual Beast that are banished currently. So that means that we have that insurance in case anything that we are doing gets stopped. We have the diffusion ability with the Rampengu banish. So something to keep in mind there. And after we banish, we're gonna normal summon Lara. And remember, earlier we sent to the graveyard a copy of Cannahawk with the effect of our Rampengu. So now we're gonna special summon Cannahawk. We're gonna use Cannahawk effect here. And with it, we're gonna banish a copy of Spiritual Beast Apelio. Now we're gonna use our Lara and our Cannahawk. Remember, Lara was a normal summon from the hand to go into ulti-cannahawk. Another tip that you notice me doing sometimes, and this is something I used to do a lot back in 2016, is I try to separate the monsters here in the Banish Zone that have been special summon with the monsters that haven't been special summon. This is just something to keep in mind. If you are playing, it can help you a lot to make sure you are keeping the structure and keeping the steps for your combo. So we summon ulti-cannahawk. Now we can use ulti-cannahawk effect. In this case, you notice we have nothing in the graveyard to fuse or refuse. So it would be good to get some of the monsters back in the grave so we have that material. So we know we're gonna special summon these two because are the one that have been special summoned. So let's go ahead and send to the graveyard or Rampengu. They're both special summon into the field. Rampengu goes into the graveyard, and we search our deck for a copy of Eeelder. Remember, we still haven't used Eeelder effect this turn. Next, we're gonna use our Winda, Lara, and Cannahawk to special summon Ulti Ray Rautare. Notice that we didn't use Apelio effect yet, and the reason behind that is because we wanna use it to banish our Cannahawk. Notice how we carefully navigate different scenarios so we have the materials that we want in the proper places. Notice right now, Banish, we have a Tamer and we have a Spiritual Beast Monster. We have Cannahawk that was properly summoned. And in the grave, we have a Spiritual Beast Monster and we have some Tamer. So, and this combo, the position of the cards all over the board is so important when you're playing this deck. Let's continue. We're gonna use Ray effect, adding Cannahawk to the hand. Normal summon in Eeelder, and using the new additional normal summon for Cannahawk. Now we're gonna use Cannahawk effect, and Cannahawk is gonna banish our Winda. And now we can use our Eeelder and our Cannahawk to summon our ulti-cannahawk. We're gonna use ulti-cannahawk effect. I wanna change the effect to the fuse, targeting our Cannahawk and targeting our Eeelder. Changing the effect to the fuse. Remember, Winda was just banished, and Eeelder was normal summon from the hand. So let's go back into the extra deck. Eeelder and Winda summon into the field, and Cannahawk goes into the graveyard, allowing us to search for a copy of Steeds. As you notice, another thing that I personally do that I think help keeping track which ones are special summon or not is to keep track which ones are the ones that were summoned from where. If you remember where it was summoned from, you probably get a good idea if it was a special summon or not. Now we have Steeds in hand. We have basically our final board. We can use the pieces, and you will notice this is exactly the same distribution of cards that we have in the combo that we started with E-Tele and Cannahawk. So we can do many things here. We can use these two level 4 monsters to go into a rank 4. We could also utilize our Apelio, Eeelder, and Ultinoshi to go into an Ulti Guy Apelio. Or we could use our monsters for link summoning. We can use our Apelio and Eeelder to go for a copy of 5P. And the opponent's turn, we can defuse our Noshi for Zefra Pilica and Cannahawk. And then we can use our IP here to one, we can utilize actually all 4 monsters if we want. To go into a 4 materials Appaloosa. Or we could even go into a 3 materials or we can even go into a 3 materials Appaloosa instead. Or we could go into a SP Little Knight. Now another thing we could do is that we could use our Eeelder and our Apelio to fuse into another copy of ulti-cannahawk. Now similar to I mentioned with other videos, this will be the second ulti-cannahawk from our extra deck, and we have no materials to defuse, so just be careful with that. And we can use this effect. We can return some cards to search a second Steeds or search some other type of follow-up that we want. So something else to keep in mind.
Scotty, beam me up.
Alright, so next we have two combos that are basically the exact same combo, but start with a different starting hand. So we're gonna perform the E-Tele Spiritual Beast E-Lara combo first, but also E-Tele plus any of these monsters is exactly the same combo. So we're gonna perform it once with the Spiritual Beast E-Lara, and the second time we perform it with one of these 6 monsters. So alright, so let's get started. First things first, we wanna use our emergency teleport. Special summoning from our deck a copy of Zefra and Apelio. Now we wanna normal summon our Spiritual Beast E-Lara. Use them both to fuse into our ulti-cannahawk. With ulti-cannahawk in the field, we wanna activate Lara effect as she was banished to special summon from the deck a copy of Spiritual Beast Cannahawk. With Cannahawk in the field, we wanna use this effect to banish a copy of Rampengu. Now we can use the Cannahawk effect and we wanna target both our tamers. And we wanna change the effect to the fuse, targeting Lara and targeting our Rampengu. They wanna be a special summon to the field. I wanna put them in this side. The Apelio is gonna go to the graveyard. I'm gonna search our deck for a copy of Winda. Now we can use Rampengu effect, and with it, we wanna banish ulti-cannahawk and send to the graveyard a copy of Winda. Now we're gonna use our Winda engrave together with our Zefra engrave to fuse into our ulti Notion Dragon. The reason why we're doing this right now is to be able to protect our ulti-cannahawk from Eeelder and impermanence. But actually this part of the combo could be done at any moment from now all the way until the end of the combo. With ulti Notion in the field, now we wanna use our Lara and our Cannahawk as materials for our ulti-cannahawk. Ulti-cannahawk effect is gonna banish Cannahawk and allow us to normal summon Winda. Using Winda effect, we wanna revive Winda. Now Winda's in the field, I'm gonna use my Winda and my Rampengu materials to fuse into our ulti-cannahawk. Now when you use ulti-cannahawk effect, and as you can see we only have our Lara engraved, so we would like to put a tamer there together with a Spiritual Beast monster. I'm gonna put Rampengu in the grave, and I'm gonna put Zefra in the grave, ensuring that I leave Cannahawk banished. With both them in grave, I'm gonna add to my hand a copy of Ritual Beast Eeelder. I'm gonna use my Cannahawk, my Winda and my cannahawk as materials to link summon or ulti Rei Rautari. Ulti Rei in the field, I'm gonna use this effect to add Cannahawk to the hand and normal summon Eeelder. Using Eeelder additional normal summon, we can normal summon Cannahawk, and using Cannahawk effect, we are able to banish Apelio from our deck. Now we can fuse our Eeelder and our Cannahawk into another copy of ulti-cannahawk. Using ulti-cannahawk effect, I'm gonna target my cannahawk and I'm gonna target my Eeelder. I'm gonna change the effect to the fuse, targeting Apelio and targeting Eeelder. Both are gonna be summoned into the field. Cannahawk is gonna go into the graveyard. I'm gonna search our deck for a copy of Ritual Beast Steeds. Now using Apelio effect, we can banish our properly summoned copy of ulti-cannahawk. This is basically the pieces we have for the Ember. Now we can use our Apelio and Eeelder, if we like, to bring out ulti-cannahawk once more, send 2 card bags, and that way we'll be able to search for a second copy of Steeds. Now again, if you only play to ulti-cannahawk, this will be, you will run the risk that you put your last copy of ulti-cannahawk on board and you have no way to defuse it, so just keep that in mind. Another option we have is that we can utilize our Apelio, Eeelder and Ulti-Noshi to go for our ulti Gaia Apelio. This will be very useful if we have a lot of Ritual Beast cards in hand. The last option I will present is using our Apelio and Eeelder to link into IP Masquerena. This will allow us in our opponent's turn to use ulti-Noshi effect to defuse itself into ulti-Falco and defuse our ulti-Falco into our Wen and our Cannahawk. That way we can utilize our IP and our Cannahawk to go into SP Little Knight. Or we could also use our IP, our Cannahawk and our Wen to go into Appaloosa. We have plenty of options in the Ember.
Scott, prepare to beam us up.
Alright, so the next combo we're gonna go through is gonna be our E-Teleport plus one of these 6 cards. And here the combo can change slightly, you should draw when, but for the most part it's gonna be pretty much the same for all of them. So let's get started. Now, similar to what I mentioned before, this combo is the same as the combo that will be Emergency Teleport and Spiritual Beast E-Lara. So just something to keep in mind, this combo and that combo will be exactly the same. And remember, his Zefra could be Winda, it could be Wen, it could be Apelio, Pettlephin, or it could be OG E-Lara. Let's start with E-Tele. And E-Tele is gonna special summon from the deck copy of our Spiritual Beast E-Lara. Now we're gonna normal summon Zefra and use the bot to go for our ulti-cannahawk. As our new Lara was banished, we're gonna use her effect to special summon a copy of Cannahawk from our deck, and with Cannahawk effect in the field, we're gonna use it to banish a copy of Apelio, a copy of Spiritual Beast Rampengu from the deck. And now with Rampengu banished, we're going to use ulti-cannahawk effect and we're going to target both our tamers. I'm going to change the effect to defuse, targeting our Spiritual Beast E-Lara and our Rampengu, sending Zefra into the graveyard to add to our hand a copy of Wen. Now I'm gonna move this just in this direction instead, just so we can follow the protocol or what we're trying to do through the other combos and try to leave these spaces as these slots that we're gonna be empty all the way until the end of the combo, no? So let's continue. We're using Rampengu effect this time. Rampengu is gonna banish ulti-Falco and it's gonna send Winda into the graveyard. Now Winda in graveyard, we're gonna banish her and banish her Zefra to special summon our ulti-Noshi dragon. This scenario we could wait and use ulti-Noshi later, but this way we also protect our Falco, so it's not a bad idea to go ahead and do it this way. That way if your opponent have infinite permanent, or if your opponent have Eeelder or something that waiting for using the Falco, ulti-Noshi is able to protect. Talking about Falco, we're gonna use our Cannahawk and our Spiritual Beast E-Lara to special summon our ulti-Falco. Now we can use ulti-Falco effect, and we're gonna banish this Cannahawk to normal summon Wen. And I'm gonna use Wen effect to special summon or Winda. Now I'm gonna use Wen and Rampengu as fusion materials for our ulti-cannahawk. Using ulti-cannahawk effect, I'm gonna target. As you can see, we only have our spiritual beast E-Lara in the game, so it would be good to put a tamer there and to put also a spiritual beast there. So let's go ahead and send back our Zefra and our Rampengu, leaving our Wen and our Cannahawk banished. So both then return to the graveyard. I'm gonna search our deck for a copy of Eeelder. And we wanna use our ulti-cannahawk, ulti-cannahawk, and Winda for the summon of ulti-ray Rautari. Now using ulti-ray effect, we're gonna target our banished Cannahawk, add it to the hand, and normal summon Eeelder. Eeelder's extra normal summon will allow us to normal summon Cannahawk, and Cannahawk will allow us to banish from our deck a copy of Spiritual Beast Apelio. And we wanna use our Eeelder and Cannahawk to fuse into another copy of ulti-cannahawk. We wanna use ulti-cannahawk effect here, and we wanna be targeting our ulti-cannahawk and our Eeelder. And we wanna change the effect to the fuse, targeting our Eeelder and targeting Apelio. Both then are summoned to the field. Cannahawk goes into the graveyard, and we search our deck for a copy of Ritual Beast Steeds. Now we can use Apelio and target the properly summoned Cannahawk and banish it. And this is basically the components that we have to create our Ember. We have multiple choices here. We can use Eeelder and Apelio to fuse into an ulti-cannahawk and use ulti-cannahawk effect, sending two monsters back to search a second copy of Steeds to the hand, Bones, or something different that will be a follow-up like a E-Lara. Another thing we can do is that we can utilize all the monsters we have in our main monster zones and fuse into ulti-Apelio. Another option we have to keep in mind is that we can use our ulti-Noshi, we can use our Apelio and Eeelder to go into copy of IP Mascarena. This is normally the option I prefer, since in the opponent's turn we can defuse our ulti-Noshi Dragon into ulti-Cannahawk and our ulti-Cannahawk into Wen and Cannahawk. And then IP could be used to summon a Spiritual Knight, or using all three monsters, a copy of Apelio instead.
I'm about to end this man's whole career.
Alright, so the next combo we're gonna have, it will be your Rampengu Shifter combo, the Shifter combo. And remember, this combo could be done with Shifter or the Fist, or either or works. So let's get started. I'm gonna perform the combo with Shifter just because it's the card that most people do, most people play instead of Diffusers. We're gonna start in the draw phase, activating Shifter, going to standby, and the main phase where we're gonna normal summon Rampengu. In normal summon Rampengu, we're gonna activate his effect, banishing a copy of ulti-cannahawk to banish from our deck a copy of Spiritual Beast E-Lara. Alright, so now we're gonna use our Lara effect to special summon from our deck the Ritual Beast Tamer Lara. Now using the OG Lara and Rampengu, we're gonna banish both of them. Special summon ulti-cannahawk. We're gonna use ulti-cannahawk effect, and we're gonna target, in this case, we're gonna target both Laras. And we're gonna change the effect to the fuse, targeting the new Lara and targeting Rampengu. Going to the extra deck, Rampengu and Lara special summon, the old Lara going to the graveyard, and we're gonna search. Adding a copy of Winda to our hand. We're gonna use Rampengu effect. This time we're gonna send from the deck to graveyard Cannahawk, and from the extra deck we're gonna banish ulti-cannahawk. And since we're under shifter, our Cannahawk is banished instead. Now we're gonna use Rampengu and our new E-Lara. Special summon ulti-cannahawk. Ulti-cannahawk effect, we're gonna banish our spiritual beast E-Lara to normal summon when. And when we're gonna be able to activate her effect to bring back our Cannahawk. Now with Cannahawk in the field, we can activate this effect to banish from our deck a copy of Winda. Now we got our Winda banish, we're gonna use our Wen and Cannahawk in the field, to fuse into ulti-cannahawk. We're gonna use ulti-cannahawk effect. Now we're gonna do something interesting here. Since we don't have any Ritual Beast in graveyard, we're gonna be targeting Rampengu and targeting our Spiritual Beast E-Lara, and change the effect to the fuse, this time targeting our Winda and our Wen. So even when we could take advantage of only sending one monster into graveyard, this time we wanna send two because we don't have anything and we wanna be able to go into ulti-no-show dragon this turn. So we're gonna go into the extra decks, we're gonna special summon both of them. These two are gonna go into the graveyard, and we're gonna search our decks, this time for a copy of Ritual Beast, Tamer, Eeelder. Now with this in the field, we can go into ulti-no-show dragon right away if we want, so we have that option present. We can use also our Winda, Wen, and Cannahawk to go into our ulti-ray route. Using ulti-ray effect, we can target our Cannahawk, and now we can normal summon Eeelder and normal summon Cannahawk. Using Cannahawk effect, we can banish from our deck a copy of Apelio. With all Apelio banish, we have Eeelder and Cannahawk that we can banish to special summon or ulti-cannahawk. Now we're going to activate Cannahawk effect, and here we're going to be doing something interesting. We want to have monsters in the graveyard. Right now I'm going to use these two for Ultinoshi. This and I need another Tamer for Ultinoshi, and also want to leave my Spiritual Beast E-Lara in the graveyard for next turn. So since I know I'm going to use one for Ultinoshi, I know I'm going to be at least sending Winda or Lara. In this case, let's go with Lara. Back into the graveyard now. Apart from that, I would like to have as much of the graveyard set ready for next turn. And for that, we need to have a Spiritual Beast or a Tamer. In this case, we notice that we are going to revive Apelio. So we want to have something banished that is a Spiritual Beast. So we're going to have banished Cannahawk. So in this case, I'm going to be targeting my Lara and my Wen. I'm going to change the effect to the fuse, targeting my Eeelder and targeting Apelio. So these two are going to go into the field. Lara and Wen are going to go into the graveyard. I'm going to search our deck, this time for a copy of Ritual Beast Steeds. We were talking about this earlier, we haven't yet a special summon or ulti-no-show dragon, so we can go ahead and do that. In this case, I like to banish Lara, and I would like to banish our copy of Rampengu. That way we leave a Spiritual Beast E-Lara in grave. So banishing these two, a special summon or ulti-no-show dragon, and these are the pieces that we have to build our endward. We could still use our Apelio effect, but there is no need for it right now. So I would prefer to have one in grave, and later on in the next turn, in turn number 3, I will be able to probably send something back into the graveyard when I activate Cannahawk effect, and then I can banish Wen and whatever I send back to go ahead and use material for Ultinoshi. So let's go ahead and see what we can do here. So our Apelio and our Eeelder could be used as materials if we want to go ahead and summon or ulti-cannahawk, and this will allow us to send 2 monsters back and search for some sort of protection, maybe bonds, maybe from follow with E-Lara, or a second copy of Steeds if you play a second copy. Another line that we have is that we can use our Apelio and Eeelder. For IP Mascarena. And in our opponent's turn, our ulti-cannahawk will be able to tag out into ulti-cannahawk, and ulti-cannahawk will be able to tag out into our Winda and Apelio. It's probably a lot of versatility with our Ember, because Steeds will be able to destroy 3 monsters, and we could even use a Spirit of E-Lara effect to special summon another Ritual Beast from the deck, and that way we can steal for 4. Also, with the monsters in the field, we could use Winda, IP, and Apelio, and if Apelio already banished Spirit of E-Lara, we could have summoned something else from the graveyard, like a copy of Zefra from the deck, like a copy of Zefra, and use all 4 of them if we so please to go into Appaloosa. If not, we could have leave Winda in the field and use these 3 monsters to go into a 3 material Appaloosa. So. And obviously, another choice that we have available when we go for this Ember is to go into an SP Little 9 instead. No? That's another thing we can keep in mind, and that way we can also keep the E-Lara on the graveyard. No? So it's another option that could be made here. These 2 monsters could go into SP. So another thing to keep in mind there. Apart from that, another option that we could use is that we can always use Apelio, Eeelder, and ulti-cannahawk dragon as materials for the fusion summon of ulti Gaia Apelio. So if we have a lot of Ritual Beast monsters in hand, we could end up with a couple of interruptions, the Banish effect, and an Steed on board. So first thing first, I want to thank you so much for watching. As you can see by the timeline below, it takes a lot of time and effort to put these videos together. So we really appreciate if you find this video informative, if you find these combos useful at all, if you like the video, and if you're looking for more Ritual Beast content, or Yu-Gi-Oh content in general, you should take a look around my channel and subscribe. Apart from that, I want to thank one more time Swisky. He came up with a lot of the optimal combos you saw today, and I will link to his channel in the description below. Apart from that, this will be the last combo video that I release, at least for a long time. It's just very hard to film this, it takes a lot of time and effort. But I will keep in the description below, I will have the spreadsheet that goes together with this video. And if we find any more optimal combo lines than the one showcased in this video, they will be updated in that spreadsheet. I'm gonna do my best job to try to keep it up to date with the latest discoveries about the deck. Alas, I've been spending so much time figuring out the combo lines and figuring out the deck list for the deck that I actually haven't had that much time to actually practice with the deck. So in the coming weeks, I want to do more of that. I want to take more time to practice with the deck, and I'm going to try to live stream as much of that practice as I can in my Twitch channel, and that will be at twitch.tv/EdYGO channel. And then I'm going to be playing not only Ritual Beast, we're just getting ready in general for the July 2024 format, and there will be also Tenpai, there will be the Fire decks, and also will be some voiceless voice practice and whatever else we can consider that could be a meta threat during the period. So if you want to catch me in my live stream, I will also put a YouTube video up when the live stream goes live and bring it down when it goes offline. So you guys have a way to check also on your YouTube feeds whenever I go live. And finally, I want to thank you again for watching. Really appreciate you guys giving me so much support to the channel and really motivate me to create videos and push forward videos as long as this one. So I want to thank you again one more time, and hopefully I catch you in the live stream. If not, I will catch you in the next video.